And we are on live. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for waiting patiently. I really appreciate you. And I'm very, very excited for this event, and I hope you are as well. So, welcome. Uh, oh my God, I can't remember how to play the slide. My name is Tamara Woods, and this is my channel where I talk about books and writing. And today we are giving you something different, a little something different for you. And I hope that you're going to enjoy this presentation. Today we are talking about the author platform. Dang it. How do I make it start? I feel like such a grandma right now. That is fun. Top right. Okay. Oh, yeah. Cool. All right. So, author, platform, find your readers. And oh no, this is not the right one. Oh my God. This is a mess. Oh, and I just realized a flaw in my plan. So I'm going to have to bring you guys up right now because I won't be able to introduce you. I won't be able to see this screen. So very cool. So we have Dana. Dana Gaulin is going to be presenting pen names. SD Hegyes will be talking about what are you going to be talking about? Oh my God, I'm blanking.
Media kits and in real life events.
AJROE will be discussing websites with us. I swear in my head this was
hello everybody.
Cool. All right. So let's try this again. All right. So again, welcome. And I'm Tamara Woods. I'm a cozy mystery author, and we are doing this presentation about author platforms because some of you might have been there for the live stream where we were discussing all kinds of different things, and website platforms and branding came up. And there was a lot of confusion there, and people weren't exactly sure where they fit, if they were doing it correctly, and what they need to do. So we as a team decided to bring you this presentation. We're just trying to accomplish giving you a good foundation to start with. So we're not going to be covering everything. It would be kind of impossible to do so. And you already know who's here with me. But before we get into that, there is a link in the description for a bingo. And this bingo is going to be a little different. You're not necessarily going to be looking for these keywords to be said during our presentations. Instead, you're going to be looking to see, are you implementing these things in your platform? And it'll kind of give you some more ideas of things that you'll be able to implement in the future if you aren't already. And thank you so much, Carrow Brown, for creating this for us. You are the best. And again, the link is in the description. So we have Dana covering pen names, Skye with media kits, and Amy with websites. So let's do a quick icebreaker. Your brand is how the public sees you. So just take a couple minutes to think about these questions. How do you see yourself? How does your family see you? How do your friends see you? And what would your coworkers say about you?
Who gets to go first? Do I get to go first?
Sure.
I think that my brand says that I am silly but very erotic. I think that my readers see me as the same way, and my family knowing me the best, think they see me as a complete goofball with control issues at times. But they don't see me, my family, like other than my husband and my children, my family don't see me as my brand would perceive me to be. They just know me as the goofball.
That's fair.
Yeah.
With myself, I see myself as a bit of a klutz, whether it's physically or verbally. I think I have a decent sense of humor, and I think that I'm a caring individual. I think my family see me as the kid. I'm the youngest out of everyone, and I'm forever little. I'm forever a little person for them. Within my fiance, I am kind of the I wouldn't say the disciplinary, but I kind of try to keep us in check because we both have a tendency to kind of go off the rails. My friends see me as a confidant, someone who's very loving, and someone who's super silly. And I don't know. Hey, coworkers, what would you say about me? Y'all are my coworkers.
I know. I would definitely call you a confidant and an encourager.
Thank you. That's very nice.
You also tend to be someone who like puts things together such as this, because let's face it, this was your brainchild during a live stream, and it's not your first brainchild. So
yeah, that is true. I love a good event. So
I agree. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I agree with Skye. My experience with you has been as someone who, although you may not take the reins in the way that a traditional leader does, you definitely coordinate and make it a point to provide opportunities for the community just because that's who you are. So I see you as a sharing resource giving person.
So how would people see you two, Skye and so weird to say AJ?
Not it, Skye, you're going first.
oh dang it. I would like to say that I'm very tunnel visioned. I know that about myself. Like once I get in the zone, I am there and nothing can get me out of it, basically. My family sees me as almost like Dana, just a giant goofball. I laugh at pretty much anything. Doesn't have to be actually funny, because my sense of humor is just really, really weird. So there's that. As far as my friends go, I haven't actually asked them lately, so I don't know, but I hope they see me as someone that they can come to if they absolutely need help, and that I will try to be there for them, even if I can't be there for them physically. As far as coworkers go, I have been told a couple times at jobs outside of YouTube that I'm a hard worker and I get stuff done that needs to be done. But I'm almost with Tamara on this one. What do you guys see me as?
I totally agree with that. You will see where something needs doing and you will do that thing.
I try.
I see you as a goofball as well, because you do. You laugh at like all the things that are worthy of laughable, and then sometimes you start laughing and I'm like, I don't get it. It's good. It's good because in my mind, I don't understand why you're laughing, so I get a little chuckle out of it because I'm like, okay, she's laughing, I'll laugh too. But I also see you as like you're a lot like me, where you're spinning so many plates that sometimes the ones you want to focus on the most get put on the furthest back on the list. So And that's just your mommy showing. So
Carrow started calling me Mama Dragon, and I love it. Absolutely. I'm just saying.
yeah.
We even address that, and when we have our gift war moments, that's Skye's name on the package is Skye, Dragon Mama Hegyes.
Yes.
I have the privilege of knowing Skye actually like in real life, and she's the one that brought me into this community. I owe her that very much. And I've always seen Skye as someone who is just burgeoning with creativity, and she finds all these different ways to actually incorporate it into her life. Like, you know, even just how she does simple everyday things will have some sort of flourish. And it's fun. Like, Skye's fun. So I'm a fan of everyone on the screen.
Ah, but that doesn't get you out of saying you're 4.
Okay, my 4. I mean, anybody in the audience who has been here before knows that, you know, you're asking me to pull my own teeth right now. How do I see myself? I am very much a work in progress. I see myself as one of those people where I've got all the tools that I need to do what I need to do. I just need to figure out how to do it. And that's the way I see myself. I'm at a transition period in my life, so I'm okay with it. How does my family see myself? I don't know. I've always been here. I think they probably see me as a support, very much so, because I try to support, you know, not just in a financial sense, but, you know, support endeavors and hobbies and interests. And I always ask everybody, how was your day today? Every single day. So I'm sure they see me as that, you know, the check-in person. How do my friends see me? You have to ask my friends, because at some points, I'm sure I'm wonderful, and at other points, I'm sure I make them roll their eyes. Like, I know I have my bulldozer moments, which is a great segue to how I think that my coworkers commonly see me, because I'm very much one of those, like, lead follower, get out of the way people. So when I see stuff and I'm like, oh, it's done, I know that I can have a tendency to bulldoze and assert myself in situations where it seems like I'm more of a resource than I am. So you'd have to confirm that with other people. Is that personal enough? Did I answer the question?
You did great.
You did.
Thank you.
That was magnificent.
I'm going to go sulk and try not to feel so exposed now for the next 2 presentations. Thank you.
You're welcome.
As someone who's known Amy for a really long time now, I agree with everything she said, as well as adding on to the fact that if you don't want to talk, but you don't want to be alone, Amy's a great person to hang out with, because she will talk your ear off if you want her to. It's great. I love it, because I'm like just here for listening all the time.
Yeah. I try. You know, I always make sure everybody gets their chance to contribute, but I've got a lot to say. So thank you for listening.
But I've been reading everyone's comments about themselves, and Ginny, scattered, stubborn, chaotic and funny, organized and driven. I love how you guys are able to, like, tear yourselves down. Wow, you're organized, aren't you? Hello, Carrie. A hot mess, lol. Emotional, stubborn, and scatterbrained. Fun, a confidant, and the quiet one. Oh, those quiet ones. And CEO, I saw your comment earlier. I just didn't get to reply to you. She sees herself as a bleeding heart, but tragically flawed, simple-minded, silly goofball, perfectionist, and meticulous organizer. I feel like I know you all so much better already.
That's right.
All right, so I cut it off a little bit, but author branding versus author platform. So if author platform is the book, then branding is a chapter in the author platform book. So meaning that the platform is what you build on top of. The branding is kind of the visuals, what people see about you and how you present yourself. Remember, you can control what you share about yourself and where you share it, but how the public perceives it is totally up to them. And as you can, and even from the four of us up here, we all have different ways of presenting ourselves on camera and, in our platforms, whether it's Amy, who is, as we know, very, very private and keeps things as close to herself as possible.
I am an avatar in the void. Tamara called me that once, and I loved it.
But it's true facts. And that's fine. That's part of who you are. Whereas Dana, in her Ava Fox moments, is very much very open.
Yeah.
Dana's TikTok is so much fun.
Thank you.
She has so much fun with it. It's great to watch.
So you can decide what you're comfortable with and how much you want to share about yourself in your platform. There's no one way to do it. So on branding, I have these two different pictures of myself to show how branding can be different. Like, for instance, the top photo was the photo that represented me when I was doing more freelance writing and blog posts, guest post writing. I wasn't into doing my fiction yet. So that was my public face. I looked kind of like a lawyer. It wasn't my favorite picture of myself, but it worked to show that I was a professional. And now, since I'm doing the Cozy Mysteries, I have this kind of animated version of myself, because within the Cozy Mystery genre, a lot of authors represent themselves with some type of animation. And I just thought it was really cool. So on branding, who are you? What do you write? It's so important to understand your genre. Become very familiar with it. Read as many books as possible. Understand the tropes, understand what your readers the reader expectations, and understand the ones that you can subvert and everything's cool, and the ones that will cause havoc. For instance, generally speaking, with romance, your romance readers are expecting some sort of happily ever after. So if you are marketing your book as a romance and then you kind of change the ending and they both die, your readers are going to talk about you, and it's not going to be in a good way. So you also, when you're considering your branding, you also want to know who are your readers and what is your message to them? What are you trying to convey? What colors and fonts will make us think of you? As you can see with the Cozy Tamara, it's all about the reds and the purples. And for a while, I was wearing red glasses. I will be getting new pairs because I miss them. But and always with the red lipstick. And what is your brand's aesthetic?
And I'd like to point out that a lot of the answers to these questions later on are going to turn out to be keywords for your website. So keep that in mind.
Ooh. I stole this definition from selfpublishingschool.com. An author platform can be defined as the ability to sell books because of who you are or who you can reach. It is used to create awareness about who you are and what you do. So we're going to be talking about how do you grow. Producing quality work like books, podcasts, newsletters, etc., with engagement, networking, attending, creating events. This is a little thumbs up of all sorts of different ways that you can connect with people. So let's do a quick 5-minute sprint where you kind of think about what we've discussed so far. And if you have any questions, drop them and we will answer them before we go on to the next. So 5 minutes. I'm just going to put 5 minutes up on my Forest app here so we can keep track of that. And that'll give you a chance to grab the bingo card if you haven't already. Again, that link is in the description. You can just reload the page if it's not there for some reason. All right, 5-minute timer. 5-minute timer starting in 3, 2, 1, go. All right, and we're back. Let's go through and see what kind of questions we have. So Barrett asks, which platforms have brought the most sales to the panel or driven the most readers to their work? I would say that the platform that has driven the most readers to my work would be the ones that I use the most, which are Twitter, Facebook, and even YouTube. Have y'all had different experiences?
I would definitely say that my Medium platform is where I get most of my sales or reads. But as far as like people finding me, I get most of the people who find me are either on my website, Twitter, or my TikTok, because I've kind of walked away from Facebook because I don't know. I just yeah.
And that's fine, because it's important to choose what works for you. And if Facebook isn't working for you, then why do it?
Yeah.
What about you, Skye?
YouTube definitely has helped me, but I've started spending a lot more time on Instagram, and I have seen a small handful of sales because of Instagram as well, which has been really interesting to see.
So, Amy, this would apply differently for you, but how do you find your customers or your clients?
Pretty much referrals. Like, people share my information at this point. I don't really have that, public face of like a website or something like that for people to go to. And that works for my business model for now. And, but networking has been my most successful tool. It's just been by socializing and making friends with people and making sure they're aware of my skills, that then, oh, well, can you help me with this? And then as soon as they know that I'm legit, like, oh, by the way, this person needs help. So referrals by extension of networking.
Excellent. And he also would like to know, what sort of social media planning tools do you use and recommend?
Most of my experiences with Buffer, and I did like it. The fact that you can't post a gallery annoyed me to no end. But they have a new engagement tag on there where you can actually see if there's comments or responses to a lot of your stuff. I used it for the Instagram comments. And I can't think of the other one. Somebody has a new keyword indicator. If I think of it, I'll let you know. But it's the one Lisa Daly uses, if anybody can remember that off the top of their head.
The later?
It might be that one, I think. They have a new hashtag tool that's pretty interesting.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to say. I use Buffer and Later because they have free options, but I'm not currently using them because I'm a spur at the seat of my pants type of girl right now.
Does anyone use Hootsuite?
I used to, and then they changed their platform, and I haven't touched it since.
Yeah, I haven't used it in years, but I was wondering if anyone still did. The only thing that I use right now is TweetDeck, because that's where I do a lot of tweeting and attending Twitter chats and hosting them, so I can kind of schedule things in advance. Otherwise, if I'm doing Facebook posts, I just schedule it on the platform, and I suck at Instagram, so I don't use it as often for that.
And nothing will beat just a plain calendar either. If you're just trying to plan out what you're going to post on what days, just grab a calendar and look at it and go, okay, I want to post this day, this day, this day.
That is definitely my number one organizational tool, is my whiteboard calendar. that changes minute by minute, but it's a whiteboard, so it's okay. I can do that.
Yeah, my planner reminds me to get shit done, and that is how I live my life. If I'm supposed to do something with you, please remind me to add it to the planner, because that's the only way I'm going to remember.
Yeah.
Planner is life. All right, let's see. Are there any other questions here? I am not seeing any. Scrolling down. Do you recommend authors writing under multiple pen names to set up different websites each? Well, we will be discussing pen names next. How can branding be incorporated within your genre? How do you mean? With me, I incorporated my genre with my branding in terms of my book covers, my author photo, and once I update my website, for me, it'll reflect what I'm doing with those things. So I guess in that respect, it reflects my genre. Also, I tend to not, even though I did just swear, but I tend to not swear as much online because the cozy mystery genre is pretty clean. And I feel that it could potentially be kind of a dissonance for my readers if I'm swearing as much as I normally would compared to what happens in my books. How do y'all incorporate your genre into your branding?
For me personally, it's pretty much the same thing. I do a lot of cussing and stuff. However, I have less sexy times. So,
Well, let me tell you. I have so much fun incorporating my genre into my brand that I carry a phallus named Sergey in my bag everywhere I go. He goes with me and we take lots of pictures together, which is always super cool. And my children have started gifting me phalluses of all different types that I love to show on my TikTok and anywhere a picture, my Twitter, everywhere. I have so much fun with it. But my genre is 99.9% sexy times. So it's important that I'm not embarrassed to pull out my Yanni egg and be like, this is beneficial if you want to. It's for strength. It's for strength, I promise. It's like lifting weights. But yeah.
Oh no.
And I have a lot of fun. A lot of fun. And I think I don't think. I know that's why I am sticking with this genre, and I think about it all the time, and I have very interesting conversations with people. And I'm glad that I finally said, no, I don't want to write these other genres. I'm sticking to my guns, and this is what I'm going to do because it's fun.
It's so important to know your genre and know what works for you, and then be able to apply that to your platform.
Yeah.
I think it's good to note that the question is actually worded a little bit backwards. You don't incorporate your branding in your genre, you incorporate your genre into your branding. That, your branding is going to be specific to you. There's not necessarily like a standard that is associated with the genre that you're reaching for. There's just going to be some like patterns, like for example, Tamara has pointed out that cozy mysteries genres are usually, the imagery is a little bit more colorful, a little bit more animated. So that's something she incorporated. You're looking at the genre and pulling it into you because you're trying to brand yourself in a way that's true to you.
Excellent point. So Barrett asks, what would the panel say in regards to the best way to build community on their platform? Any tips?
That depends entirely on the platform. Like, yeah, very, very much so. Like, Dana's having a blast on TikTok with all of those things. Of course, that's going to incorporate it. And Skye's got her scheduling tools. She's using her social media on a regular basis that involves people. They recognize it. Tamara hosts groups like Write Stuff, where she's, proposing conversations to stimulate interaction in that form. It really, building community is going to depend on the platform and, how you're best interacting with it. Like, I would not be good to host a conversation discussion on Facebook. It's not my jam. Right. So what platform are you using? What way can you foster communication between people on that platform? And that's how you're going to build community, is just by the interaction and people connecting with each other. But it's specific to the platforms.
And I also think that it depends on what your personality type is. Like, for myself, I appear to be very extroverted, but in reality, I don't like to join groups unless I know someone who is in them, and they will shield me from all of the scary newbies who might not like me. So Amy's absolutely correct 100%, but I believe that it also depends on the personality type of the individual. So get a Tamara and she'll open all the doors for you.
My friends used to call me the come hang out with me fairy. I was always like, come hang out, let's go do something. And it totally has extended into my work life. Come hang out, let's make an event, let's do the thing, come on, let's go. And let's take this last question real quick from Barrett, and then we'll move on. What sort of budgets does the panel recommend an author to expect to set up their author platform? I think that is one of those questions that's entirely up to you and your budget and what you can spend. So moving on from that one, what is the best money the panel has spent on their platforms? And personally, for me, it's been my book covers, because that is the biggest way for my readers to be drawn in, or my covers. And of course the editing, all the stuff that goes along with the book. But
yeah, I think it's important to note that while he's asking like how much is spent, it is entirely possible to build a kick-ass brand free. All these social media platforms are free. Things like your tools like Canva have free versions. Linktree has a free version. Like, you can do this for free. It's just a matter of finding the tools and assembling them in the way that works for you. So anybody who hears the word budget and goes, oh no, I'm lacking in that way. No, you're not. You can totally compensate for not being able to buy any fancy tool just by the effort that you put into the free versions.
Yes. And another thing to add to that is bartering is something that a lot of people don't consider a lot of times. And it's totally a viable source. If you know someone who is good at editing and maybe you're good at cover design or vice versa, talk to them and see if you can do something where you exchange services with each other.
Right.
I mean, the worst that someone can say is no.
Yeah. Personally, since I'm not a writer, I'm here because of my technical ability to technically contribute. It's my tools. And I see that, if someone is trying to be an author and build your platform, investing in some things over others will be helpful. But as an SEO, it's my tools that I need because there's just so much keyword research to do. But that's, again, helpful for authors. Keep in mind your tools can be a deal breaker. If you have a medium amount of talent for cover design, it might be worth your time to invest in the tools to make the covers, and then you can do it yourself. It really depends on, you and your budget. Everything in this conversation is going to depend on you. That's all the point of it. Author platform, it's yours.
I just saw this question from MM. How many different online author identities do you think is too many? One for every book, every series, every pen name? First of all, I would advise you to figure out how much can you take on. because if you're going for a different online author identity for each book, that's going to be a lot to handle. If you're going to be putting out, let's say, 15 books, that's 15 author identities. That would be a lot to manage. Way too much to manage. In
That's
my
some weird Gremlin Mancer type stuff right there. Nobody's ever going to find me. They'll never connect the dots. That's entirely too much effort, I think.
Yeah, that's a lot. So I would suggest more along the lines of, let's say, genre specific rather than the different books or the different series. Or there are people who have the one name and they manage all of their different genres under it. And, because really, as we've already said, this is all about what works for you and what you can manage and what's going to best suit your style. Does anyone else have anything else to say?
Yeah, I would absolutely 100%. If your book series doesn't go outside of the genre you're writing, I would stick with the same pen name, because once people get to know who you are and they're buying your books, you'll throw in this ringer and then all of a sudden there's this new name who they aren't confident in. So unless you're skipping to another genre, I would absolutely stick with the same pen name for every book and every series within the same genre. If you go out, if you're writing historical romance today and then tomorrow you decide that you want to write steampunk, space operas or whatever, then I would create a new pen name. But every pen name you have has to have a place to live. So you're literally putting on a new persona for each one of these pen names. Keep it simple. If you're staying in the genre, keep the same pen name. If you go outside of your out of the box, then create a new pen name. Yeah.
Fantastic. So what's next? Dana Gaulin's going to be discussing pen names.
Yay!
Yay! So if you could share with me your screen here.
I will. Give me 1 second, because I am... Okay, I think I do got it. You're going to have to talk me through this, guys. I'm not...
Did you see how I started this?
Yeah.
You're fine.
That's why I was like, I am not a, what is this thing called? It's a presentation. They're slideshows. I'm not a slideshow person. So
I literally hadn't ran a slideshow since college. So
yeah.
I was like, I just remembered that I don't remember how to do this. Fantastic.
Right? Okay. So there it is there. How do I blow it up like you did?
Up there in the top right, it says present, I think. Presentation, something like that.
Yeah. Awesome.
And then you just click them.
Okay. All right. So I guess I should go back over here and say, hi, my name is Dana Gaulin. I write erotica under my pen name Ava Fox. And I like pen names. No. All right. So anyway, today I'm going to be talking about author platform. No, I'm not. I'm going to be talking about pen names and branding themes. And I've hit the space bar to turn the page.
Yep.
Awesome. This is not. Did I forget to edit? Yeah. Yesterday was rough. All right, so hello, my name is Dana Gaulin, and I am excited to share with you the knowledge I have created. I'm not an SEO expert, so Amy's going to have my back in case I stumble, but I'm going to explain how I made an SEO positive pen name and how to pick your author branding theme to include colors, fonts, and images, and where you can find colors, fonts, and images. So yeah. All right, so what did I just do?
It's okay. There you go.
All right, so first of all, you want to find your theme, otherwise known as a niche. And niches are based on your genre. So if you write YA romance, you're going to want to go and search out, well, who's reading YA romance, so that you can appeal to them. I said find what is hot right now. You can go to Amazon. You can go to, actually, I think one of the first things that you want to know before you start this journey is if you want to do Amazon only, like Amazon sales specifically, or if you're going to try to go wide with other presenters. Because one way to find your niche is to do a Google search. So if you Google search, YA romance in Amazon, you're going to get one set of numbers. If you Google search YA romance wide, then you'll get more numbers, and you'll be able to see kind of where there are bigger sales. And that's actually going to be really important for your theme of who you are as an author. I also put that it's extremely important that you stick to yourself. Be true to who you are. Make sure that you define your limits within your genre. So if you start writing romance and you decide that you're going to write cozy romances, but then you're not getting the sales that you want, if writing more graphic romance isn't comfortable to you, then don't go into more graphics. Stick with what you're comfortable with, because your readers will absolutely know. They will know that you are not comfortable with it. So, yeah. And one way that you can find all of this information is to use an extension to find keywords that will put your work on, or that you'll basically use these keywords. You'll put them on your website, and it'll keep you on top of the search pile. So you don't want, like if you're going in and you're looking for cozy romance, and I keep saying romance because that's what I know. I know erotic romance. So if you're writing like epic fantasies or whatever, it will still apply. You'll just have to put in different keywords. Yeah, so you can use the Google or the Chrome extension. There's a lot of really cool tools that you can go and find, like what people want and where the sales are and what specifically is in these books that people are wanting. And yeah, that'll keep you on top of your game. There is also tools like branding quizzes, and I used the K Putnam. I have a link for it down below. And basically what you do is you go in there and you answer questions about who you are and about what you want your brand to be, and it takes the answers to these questions and it gives you a lot of information that you can take. And the color palette that I was handed, I didn't particularly like it. It wasn't as sensual as I wanted my platform to be. And so what I did was I took the colors they had suggested and I found a color wheel, and I picked from this color wheel the ones that really spoke out to me. And that's very important to your website when you're developing it, because the colors, the fonts, and the images are what people are going to see first. And they're going to say, oh, okay, yeah, this is a romance website, versus if you're writing romance and you have spaceships on your website, they'll be a little bit confused, just a tiny bit. So, yeah, and I put down here number 5 that decide if you wanted to sell wide or stick to Amazon, but really it should have been like up there, because it is a big decision, and you don't have to stick to the decision that you make the first time, which I think is amazing. This is very forgiving. If you are like, this isn't working for me, you can totally change your mind. So, and then you're going to take all this information, you're going to take what you've learned about your genre, specific details about read a lot of the genre specific books, find out what the details are, how are authors spelling these, how are they writing them, and you're going to start putting your ideas for your website, but you're also going to take all this information and create a pen name with it. So this is just more research for your genre and your keyword niches, and this will really it'll really help you nail down what you want to use. So like, this is the Chrome extension. They do have a free version, and they have a version where you can pay like $10 and you get like 10,000 searches for it, and that's really a cool tool to have. And yeah, so take a look at that. You want to look at book covers, go and find your authors that are selling. Go to the authors who are on the top of the search pile and look at their book covers, look at their websites, read their books, which means you're probably going to have to buy some books, and really get a feel for what they're doing, and don't necessarily pull from their pool. We don't want to steal their lunch money, but use it in order to kind of form you into the persona you want to be. So yeah, and then I said, theme quizzes, dive deeper. And the nice thing about the theme quizzes is that there's going to be stuff on there that you don't particularly like, and so you can pick and choose what you want, or you can take what they suggest and kind of run with it and build something that's closer to your vision of what you want your website to look like. So yeah, that's that. All right, so the pen names. This is really where I have a lot of fun with pen names. So yeah, and you want to keep them. I could be wrong. Amy's the SEO expert, but from what I understand and what I've learned, it's important to have everything as SEO positive as you possibly can, because like Ava Fox, if you go and search Ava Fox right now, there's going to be a gajillion weird searches, but there's only one Ava Fox 301 that I know of, and that's why I put the numbers after my name. So yeah, I could be, I keep going back to it, I could be wrong, but
no, you're right.
I know, I'm like, thank God I have an expert here. So yeah, so there are a few different reasons why you may want to choose a pen name. Protecting your privacy is, I think, the number one reason to have a pen name, especially if you're writing a genre like mine, where your community might look down on you if they find out that you are writing, something scandalous, and you're a mom and you're a wife. And so protecting your privacy is important. And also, I don't want people showing up on my doorstep. At least I didn't. Now I'm like, the kids are grown. If they show up here, I can handle it. No. But pen names also help to protect your identity, your personal information. It's harder to dox you if you really stick to your pen name and don't just put it out there that, oh yeah, I'm Dana Gaulin and I write this. That's a rule breaker. But like I said, now I'm at a point in my life where I'm okay with it. So, and then if you want, like I do, I'm not necessarily trying to protect my personal information or anything like that, but I am working, and I'm in the process of separating Ava Fox from Dana Gaulin as much as I can, because Ava Fox is a lot of fun, and some of the fun things that she does, Dana Gaulin would never in a million years say in public, or you know what I'm saying? So it's okay to use your pen name to also conceal your identity. So you're protecting your privacy and you're concealing your identity. And the best two ways is stick with your pen name. If you want people to not know who you are, your pen name has to be everywhere. So I guess I'm an example of how not to use a pen name. But like Tamara does a really good job of using her pen name, and she does a really good job.
Thanks.
So you're very welcome. I think you are a very you have a lot of great. My brain's not working today because I haven't had enough coffee. You have a lot of great ideas, and you show people where to go. So yeah, like this is awesome. So enough fluff. Here we go. So to choose a pen name, I put on there that once you know the genre you want to write in, like the details of the genre you want to write in. What do their book covers look like? What color schemes do they run? What are the authors putting out there? All that good stuff. So for an example, there are a lot of women who write romance, and they use either a more masculine pen name or they use an androgynous pen name. So you want to take those types of things into consideration. Do you want to go against the grain and say, hey, this is who I am? Or do you want to kind of get into the stream a little easier? Do you want to be a trout or a salmon, or do you just want to be a little minnow and swim freely? And it's going to be completely up to you and the pen name that you choose and the genre that you're in. I know several amazing women who have chosen to do an androgynous pen name for those purposes. The next thing you're going to want to decide if you're going to use your legal name for your genre. So if you're comfortable with people knowing that Dana Gaulin is your government name and you write fantasy romance under this name and you don't care what anybody else is going to think, then stick with your legal name. If you want to keep that separation between your personal life, your legal name, your personal information, you'll want to lean more towards a pen name. So then you also have to do a lot of soul searching. You want to choose a pen name that is a reflection of who you are and who you imagine yourself as a writer. Is your pen name going to be like a completely separate persona? You know, like Ava Fox puts on the red lipstick and she's much more playful, and she'll, you know, try to be creative with whatever she's doing. So you need to really know what you want out of your pen name before you just start using a pen name. And I've used several pen names. I started off with one, and the more I said it out loud, I would giggle every single time because it reminded me of a commercial from the 80s. And so I was like, you know what, let's get rid of this. And I had to redefine myself. I had to do some soul searching. Oh, what else? Yeah, and make sure, if you do use a pen name, make sure that you stick with it, because you'll confuse your readers. They'll be like, wait, who is this person? So, yeah, choosing a pen name. Pen names should be fun and unique to your personality and your writing. One of the fun ways that I looked up my pen name is I went through the genre and I started removing. I wrote a list, and all the names on the list, if it sounded like I worked inside a club of any kind, I scratched that out. Because that's not what Ava Fox is about. So I ultimately chose my name based on a girl that I knew in high school. Her name was Ava, and I'm 40, and I always say that I'm Foxy 40. So it was this girl who I remember, who was just always energetic, always having a good time, always just kind of, and then something that I love, which is foxes, Foxy 40. And yeah, so I had a lot of fun with it, and that's what you should do as well. And you can use baby name lists, and you can go as deep as saying that J names 1980 through 1998 or whatever, and it will generate like a census of what the most popular names was. And you can also use ssa.gov to find that kind of information, and they'll actually give you like decades at a time, which is really cool. And then once you've done all of that and you say, yes, this is the name I want to use, Google it. Google the pen name that you choose. Don't be like me and just say, whatever, I love this name, I'm going to stick with it. If there are 1,000 people on top of you, you'll never be found. So you want to Google your pen name, and then if you see that there are 1,000 searches for this pen name, reduce the search. You want to make it more specific. So you would reduce it to Dana Gaulin, fantasy romance, whatever, and then, you know, how many people are on top of that. You want to make sure that you're going to be as high on that search list as you possibly can be. Otherwise, no one's going to find you. Like, your readers are literally going to Google your name, and everyone else is going to be right on top. So Google it. If there's too many other people using that name, keep it on the back burner, but go back to square one and find another one. Always have a backup plan. So yeah, so once you found the name that you love, Google it, go and check your genre and see if there's a pattern to people who are writing in your genre, and if there's a pattern to the names that are being used in your genre, try to make your genre, your name kind of fit into that thing. Yay! We're at the resources. So yeah, so for the author brand quiz, my friend Anna found this website and she shared it with me. It's thekputnam.com. I took the test, and it was a lot of fun, and I got the results. And as I was looking through it, I was like, okay, well, this was more romancy. I'm going for something a little bit different. So I took the information that the quiz gave me, and I made it more specific for myself. And that's really important. I was putting out a couple different words.
I feel that.
Yeah, I'm an author, not a public speaker, but it's all good. So yeah, and then the Chrome extension is Keywords Everywhere. This one, they do have a free, they have a free version, and then like I said, you could pay like $10 and you get like 10,000 searches. But the really neat part about this extension is it shows you like graphs of who's searching for this name, how popular is this name, how many people are selling products under this name, and so much more information that I don't understand. I mean, I do understand it, but not like in depth, which is why we brought the expert with us today. So yeah, so then you want to take your pen name, you want to take the information from the quiz that you took, and then you want to go and find graphics and colors. And there are free graphics. The ones that I use are Unsplash. Thank you, Tamara, for showing me Unsplash. And Canva. And both of those have free options, and they have paid options. So, yeah. And don't forget, Google is your friend. They are your friend. As much as it's a pain in the neck sometimes to do all this searching and Googling, they are absolutely 100% a resource that you want to use. They're free, and they give you a lot of knowledge if you know how to use it properly, which is why we brought the expert.
Yes, speaking of, I do have something to contribute.
Okay.
Dana keeps talking about searching your keywords for your genre and your name and, refining the search and all that sort of thing. Basically, what she's explaining is how you go through the process of identifying whether or not there is another Ava Fox in your genre. You're going to be exploring what's there, and you just use it in Google. There's plenty of free keyword extensions too, like she's mentioned. In my experience, the paid ones are, of course, better, but I use them for work. If you're using this and you do have a restricted budget, the free ones are going to be able to give you the information that you need. And if you don't know what the hell you're doing when it comes to the keywords, what I recommend doing is picking a tool, probably a free one, because don't throw your money at it. It's going to be a waste. They're going to give you a list of keywords. And these are the keywords that Dana's talking about. You can see the frequency of how often they're searched. So you could see, well, I didn't know this was a really popular name, but 20,000 people have Googled it this month. So apparently somebody somewhere is popular, and you'll already know that you're going to struggle to get any recognition for this name. That's the situation she is explaining.
Yeah.
I recommend taking your keyword list from your whatever your free tool is, and like the tools I use go all the way up to like 10,000 keywords. Narrow it down to the top, like maybe 100 that comes to the list. Those will be the ones that are most relevant. And then compare that, as Dana mentioned, to other authors in your genre. Go and look, because there are some things that you might not even make a connection. Like, this isn't the best example, but if you're writing a romance, you might not make the connection right off the bat that, happily ever after is a main keyword for that genre. like I said, that's not the best example, but hopefully it'll give you an idea of what I'm going for here. That there will be phrases, and a keyword is not a single word. They call them long tail keywords when they're like 2 to even 10 words long. A keyword can be a phrase, and you'll just be able to look at this list, and when you see them implemented on other people's sites, you'll get a better understanding of how Dana is suggesting that you can look at these keywords, acquire them, and then actually figure out how to implement them. You know, like you'll get ideas for hashtags to look at on different social media platforms just because you're like, oh, well, this is a keyword that is associated with this. Let me just see. And you'll stumble across a lot of really good nuggets that way. And so, like Dana's saying, it's very much a useful thing to do at the very beginning of your process when you're picking your key name. It helps to weed out competition right off the bat.
And it's fun.
So if y'all have any questions, please start dropping them in the comments. And I know a few popped up. Some of them have been answered as we were going along. But this one I thought was an interesting one because it's not something that we often talk about. What do you think of authors who run social media platforms for main characters, essentially?
I love that. And I know that there are a lot of people who love that idea. When I first published The Awakening, I had an influx of people who wanted more of Cassius. That's the male secondary main character. It's not the hero. And I love the idea. I don't have the energy to do that. And that's why I haven't done something specifically for Cassius, because I just don't have the energy for it. But I absolutely love the idea, and some of the authors who have done that have a great following, and they are amazing. So much fun.
I think Jim Butcher actually has one of those with one of the she's not a main character. I think it's Molly from the Harry Dresden series. I think she has her own Twitter, and it's real fun to read and watch because it's her. Like, it's definitely her, but it's awesome. But I do not have the energy to do something like that.
I don't either.
I think it works better if you have a series, definitely, and you have a long series versus, like, I write short series. The most books that are going to be in any of my series are like 5 books. And I just can't see doing a platform for every single main character.
Yeah. Whereas, like, the Dresden Files are, what, 15 books long? Or
hold on, what? Where are we at? 1, 2, 3, 4. I have most of them. I don't have all of them yet. But yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah. So it's like, and it's such a good series. Anyway, that's beside the point. But I agree. Those are a lot of fun. I really enjoy interacting with them. But I think that it does take, it takes extra energy and it takes extra time to do. But if you have that time and energy, I think that it can definitely work for you.
Yeah. Well, and yeah. Because we're talking main characters.
As a reader, I can say that I like some specific ones. I like the ones that are fun. I don't so much, like, if it's a genre I'm not interested in, even a Great Fate's not going to get my interest, really. Right. Technically speaking, professional work-life way, it can be an extremely powerful tool, and some people like it because they can pretend to be that character. They don't have to pretend to be themselves. It might be something that appeals to you. You're going to want to focus on your fan favorite if you're going to bother with it, though. If your main character is your main character, but when everybody goes, OMG, I love so-and-so, and their reaction, if you're really going to actually consider this, make sure that it's your fan favorite. If you're lucky enough that is your main character, awesome. Yeah. But if you're doing this, it's to appeal to people who want that character. So it doesn't matter if it's not your main character. Whether or not it's worth your time, that depends on how you use it. If you're using it just to get the hype out there and socialize and get attention and for people to just share it and be like, this is so great, it's awesome for that. But if you are an author who has multiple genres, or if you have multiple series and that sort of thing, any reference to your other works coming from a character in one specific work is going to seem out of place. So it's not a super fantastic marketing everything that you do tool. It's a super fantastic connecting with the audience for this specific book, and it can be, awesome for that.
Absolutely.
So Barrett asked, does using initials instead of your first name count as a pen name? If I wanted to write the adult fiction, if I normally write kidlit. Yes, it does. Joanna Penn from thecreativepen.com, she uses Joanna Penn as her nonfiction name, and then JF Penn is her thriller name. And she has a really great article about pen names where she discusses that. And one of the things that she has done to make those two names distinct is even in her color choices. So with her author photo for JF Penn, it's in black and white as she kind of looks serious. Whereas with her Joanna Penn author picture, she's like smiling, it's in bright colors, and it's much more welcoming. So I think that can absolutely work.
Yeah. And for authors who want to keep their pen name androgynous, initials are recommended. So like my friend Kelly, she wanted to keep her name androgynous because of the genre that she was writing in, and so she used the initials KM and then her last name. And when you Google KM Rice, there's a ton of people that show up. So once you know her face, you're like, oh yeah, that's the one that I'm looking for. So absolutely, initials are very safe, and they're very androgynous. So your children's book readers are not gonna put it together.
Let's see, are there other questions that I've missed? It's 20 books long. Thanks, Carol.
She is also a fan.
The Dresden Files, so good. I think I'm 3 books behind.
My husband's read all of them now except for the very last one, but I am much farther behind than that.
All right, so if there's no other questions from the comments, I'm not looking at the YouTube page. Is anyone looking at the YouTube proper page? Because that takes a little bit of time to upload on the StreamYard.
Misty Kate asked for a link to Joanna Penn's site, but that's the only thing I see.
Oh, it's literally the creativepen.com.
Pen being 2 N's.
Yeah. So that link's there. Okay, so next up we have Skye.
I'm next. Okay. All right, give me a second to share my screen. Okay, I think I shared it. Okay, yes. Awesome. All right. So hello, everyone. I'm Skye. I generally write I actually use a pen name using my initials because I write on paranormal romance under SD Hegyes. I also do like freelance formatting, and I post YouTube videos. And today I wanted to talk about media kits because I've actually was just part of a paranormal romance anthology where I was asked for a media kit, and I was like, I don't have one ready for you. So I had to put all this together myself fairly recently. And actually, I will also do a share screen where I show that as well, so you can see what I did. But basically what it is, it's an author resume showing what you have done, who you are, all of your information that you can think to put on it, and you can use it for promotional purposes. It keeps all of your information in one place, and it makes it so much easier to pass on information for marketing purposes, because all you have to do is pass them one single document that contains everything. It's basically a laundry list of everything that you can think of about yourself. and you can give that to others in order to for various experiences, which we'll get into as well. What should be in it as far as you as an author go? You should have both a short and or long bio. You don't have to have both. The way I generally think of it is your short bio is something that can fit in a tweet. It's 140. I don't use Twitter, so I'm not positive. Is it 140 characters? Something like that. But
260.
Oh, it's longer. So something that can fit in a tweet basically is what you want for a short bio. Something that can be just real easy to put in if necessary. And then your long bio can be as long as you want it, but it tells about who you are as an author and everything about yourself. You also want to list any awards you've won. There's a couple authors I speak to who have been to DragonCon and have been nominated for Dragon Awards, and put that in your media kit. There is no reason not to, whether you've been nominated or you've been awarded for various things, put it in there. Any accolades you have, such as if you have degrees in creative writing or in other things that are related to your genre and who you are as an author, put it in there. Events to social events. Lists of events you've been to. I can't talk today. I think we're all there. Now, I don't actually have my events listed in mine because they were before I was under this pen name. But if you do events with your author career that you're doing currently, list them in your media kit. And then, of course, you want any social media links that you have. Like for me, I have Instagram is my main one. Then I have a Facebook page. I have my YouTube channel, which I post videos on and stuff like that. Another thing you want on there is any lists of your publications. This includes the titles of any books, anthologies, magazine articles. If you do magazine articles, make sure you put the title of the article as well as the magazine itself. And if it's part of a collection like volume whatever versus year whatever, make sure you include all of that information. You want blurbs for books and short stories and stuff like that. And of course, if you are able to put purchase links, the magazines and articles like that, you might not be able to. But if you are able to, put those as well. Like I said, the media kit is your list of everything about yourself. The last thing you want is all of your graphics. This would contain your author photo, your book covers, any graphics that are pertaining to your author branding, such as like Facebook banners, Instagram images that you might want your audience to see. If you've got a logo, once upon a time, I had a logo for my name, and I no longer use that logo. It no longer matches my brand, but like it was a dragon and a fox surrounding my name. But if I were to do any kind of event and I would pass on my media kit, I would want that included in the media kit so that I could pass that on for people to use with whatever is going on and what they're doing. And that goes for promo graphics as well. If you're doing a cover reveal and you are passing on your media kit to anyone who needs, who is going to be revealing your cover, and you've got like a countdown where it's got a partial cover reveal and it's got a countdown number, blank days until blank cover reveal, include those in your media kit as well. And the last thing I'll note is that if you offer any kind of services, like I do formatting, put that in your media kit as well. It may not be pertaining to who you're giving your media kit to, but there's no reason not to include it because that way it's there if they are needing that information. And as far as like who needs your media kit, a long time ago, I did blog tours. I was both a host and I helped, I sent my books out to different blog tour organizers where they do cover reveals or they just do shares. This is a good book to read. It's a new release kind of thing. Newsletter swaps. I don't know how many people have any of you guys done newsletter swaps? out of curiosity?
I have done quite a few.
Okay.
That has been one of the main ways that I have grown my newsletter.
Okay.
It's not to brag, but it's a little over 1,000. So
mine's a baby because I'm new to newsletters and I haven't done a newsletter swap yet, so I'm new to that. But I know it's a thing and it's something I'm going to be doing eventually. I just haven't gotten to it yet.
I needed my. It's a good way to network with other writers as well.
The whole reason I needed to make a brand new media kit is because the fact that my anthology organizers for the paranormal romance I was in, they were like, hey, we need your media kit so we can do promotional stuff. And I was like, okay, let me get that to you. So definitely whenever you're in part of any kind of anthology, go ahead and have it ready for them so that they don't have to wait on you to get it to them like mine did. Just saying. It's a good thing to have. Interviews are another good thing, especially like if you're doing a virtual interview. I know that The Naked Firefly has done interviews. JC Carpenter has done interviews. And I think I saw Barrett mention that he does interviews as well. It's a good thing when you're doing, especially like virtual interviews or even better magazine interviews. It gives them all the information that they would need from you that they can pass on to who they're presenting that interview to so that they have it. They might not use everything in your media kit, but that way they've got access to the information. They don't have to keep coming back to you for that information. The other thing is event organizers. Now, that could be something as simple as this. I know Tamara, right before we went live, was like, hey, I need everyone's links. And I was like, I thought I sent yours, but there it is. So for any kind of events, whether they're virtual like this one or what I'm going to be going into next is actually like in real life events, definitely media kits are something that you want to be able to pass on so that they can use that for promoting their event with your information so they can say, hey, we've got such and such author coming. This is what they do. Here's how you can find them before the actual event, or even if it's something like this during the event. So you can keep coming back and finding out more information about who is going to be at the event or who is hosting the event or co-hosting. So this is what I meant about in real life events. I have not done any in real life events since I started using this pen name, but I was published several years ago with a small press and I was using my married name at the time. So in real life events are any events that you go to where you attend in person. And this can be important because of networking, getting in touch with other authors. I was talking with these lovely ladies yesterday, and I mentioned that a lot of my friends on Facebook are people I've met at in real life events, whether they've been other authors or publishers and organizers for different events that I have been a part of. It also gives you a chance to talk one-on-one with your readers, especially like there was one event I've been to a couple of times where one of my readers had purchased one of my books the first time I attended that event, and then she attended the event every year after that. And she and I had a conversation each year, and it was really interesting to get to talk to her again over and over again and have her come back to my table. Actually, it was kind of humbling in a lot of ways and really cool. And of course, the other thing that's really important about doing in real life events, of course, is you want to sell your books. If you're an author, you want to be able to sell your content to your readers. As far as what kind of in real life events you can attend, there are conventions. I've done multiple conventions. There's also workshops. There might be less chance of selling your books at workshops, but there's definitely more networking opportunities with workshops. You have book signings, whether these be at libraries or bookstores. There's fairs and festivals. This picture was actually taken we were at a mall during a festival that was being hosted at a mall. And so I was at a table with two other people. One was selling crafts and the other one was selling her own science fiction book, while I was also selling my book. I only had 2 books published at the time. Conferences are a good event to attend. And then, of course, your writing groups that you might do in person. Again, they might not be a way to sell books, but you can definitely do networking at writing groups. And of course, there's probably more events that I am not thinking of that you can do as well. So yeah, I said I was going to share a look at my media kit real quick. I'll go ahead and share that real quick. This one? Yeah. I think that's it. Yeah. Let's see if I can make this a little bigger. So this was just a basic media kit that I put together. This is the one I ended up sending to the organizers of the anthology I was part of. It has my bio. It has my social media links. I have a link tree with where you can find all of my links in one place, if that makes it easier to the organizer. Email, website, newsletter, and then everywhere I am as far as social media goes. I mentioned that you have your author services listed. I've got all of my books listed, the title, the blurb, links of where they can be found. And then images, of course, and they're really big. I've got my author photo, the covers of my books that I have published currently. That was the anthology I needed this for, by the way. And that's actually all I have in here. The only other tip I would add about when you are sending your media kit out, the only other tip I would add to that is, on top of having your graphics in the document, send them individually as well if you're doing it via email, because sometimes people cannot copy the images straight from the document depending on what kind of program they're using to view it. So it's much easier for them to get the images in a folder. And if you have a lot of images, zip that folder up and send it to them that way, because that'll make it easier to send.
Excellent. And if anyone has any questions, I saw Misty Cates. She says, I love this, the media kit, but what if you're not published yet?
Ooh. I'm going to have to think on that one, because I'm trying to think of all the things you would include in it if you aren't published yet. I mean, there's other things, like I mentioned, there was articles and stuff, and if you're not published, you include the information that you would already have. Like if you have an author bio already, go ahead and include that, any of your social media links. And even if you don't have anything published yet, you can still include what you do have. If you have done any kind of YouTube videos, talk about the fact of what you've been doing with your YouTube videos. And I only mentioned YouTube because that's where we're at right now.
I think it would be a fun way to introduce yourself into your community of readers by if you're not published, by putting out this media kit. I think that would be a really cool way, and just use all the informations that you have and stuff. I think that would be awesome.
If you have written any blog posts, you can include your blog. If you've written any guest posts, you can include those as well. If you've been interviewed for something, or you've interviewed other people, if you have a podcast, if you've been on a podcast. And I would also suggest try doing those things so that you can add more things to your media kit. Because since you're still at the not published stage, you have time to kind of get yourself out there. And there's often, I've seen a lot of people, especially with podcasts, asking for people who are in different stages of their writing career, like doing a search of hashtag podcasts on Twitter or something and seeing what pops up and who are looking for people to interview, especially when the podcasts are kind of new and they're kind of trying to get themselves out there as well and trying to find someone to talk to. It's a really great way to not only network with someone new, but also to get your name out there and to, get some of that sweet SEO happening.
Adding on to that, definitely look up magazines and stuff if you are trying to get published, because sometimes magazines will allow you to just enter in quick short stories, and that's a good way to get published so you have something on there if you are wanting to go that route. I also see in the comments, Barrett mentioned putting like newsletter information there. How do you guys feel about that? Because I personally would not do that, but other than having a link to my newsletter, but he's talking about putting like the fact that you do a newsletter. I don't know how to put that into the media kit.
But
Sorry, I think I had a technical difficulty. I could see Tamara's mouth moving, but I couldn't hear her.
I had it too.
Okay.
Oh, I said I would probably, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I said I would probably have the link for the newsletter as opposed to putting the newsletter into the media kit.
Yeah.
Now, if your newsletter is a resource, then it's something that's worth featuring. If you go out of your way to find resources and put them in your newsletter, like, okay, well, here's just a couple of, this month I struggled with word counts. So here's a couple of books that I noticed were focused on word counts. If you read one, give a brief review of it. If it's actually a resource to other writers as opposed to more of a personal way to connect with your readers, i.e. giving more personal information about experience and opinions and that sort of thing. If it's a resource, it's worth putting in the media kit because it's something that will have value to anybody who stumbles across it, has your common interest. If it's personal based, then it's not really a tool at that point in a media kit.
Do you think that like if your newsletter is more personal, just kind of listing a few like things that you do on a regular basis, and then like hey, if you're looking for new recipes or opinions on raising teenage girls or whatever, click on the link and have it be your newsletter link, like just letting them kind of like a vague, this is what you'll find in my newsletter and here's how you can sign up for it. Do you think that could be beneficial?
I think that is necessary, as if you're putting the newsletter in there, as even just for your social media links, it would be useful to have a little blurb like that, like, the personal experience of a writer who happens to be a mother and loves to cook. If you're going to put your newsletter in there, and a blurb wouldn't hurt, because even if you are using it for personal reasons more so than marketing, it still just teases people. A little hint like that, it gets people's interest. So that definitely is a recommended feature from me. Excuse me.
So Jeannie had asked, would video anthologies count for the media kit? And I asked her further in comments what she meant by that, and she was talking about doing collabs on YouTube and adding that to your media kit. So what do you say to that, Skye?
I would say yes. I just realized, because I saw another comment about it from Carrie, and I actually just responded to that. I got my other computer open with the YouTube. But I did not update my media kit to have the video anthologies listed. But that technically, Tamara, you actually mentioned it to me earlier this year when I was doing one of my goals videos. You were like, you published something, count it. If it's a video, even if it's an audio anthology, it is still technically a book. If you're going to include a link to it, include the link to like the playlist versus your own specific video, but mention in like parentheses, my video is such and such title. But yeah, go ahead and include that, because there's no reason not to. It's another link that people can go to that showcases your work. because like I said, this works, the media kit works as a resume. It is everything you've done work-wise related to your author career.
And I'd just like to add that everything that Skye has mentioned on your media kit should be on your website too.
Yeah. I was going to say, she also mentioned a really good thing in regards to newsletters. Write down all of the things that you do in a month and really appreciate how much time and effort you are putting into running your own publishing journey, basically, is what's going on. Because like, if Skye hadn't started making this list of things, she totally would have not told people about her video anthology. So give yourself all of the credit when you're writing your newsletter. Put it all in there.
Celebrate every little win, guys. Every little win.
That's right.
So would anyone like to share their author website?
I mean, mine's not up to date. It's on my to-do list.
Oh.
But it exists.
Dana, share yours with us, because I think yours is the most current. Mine is on my to-do list for next week. I've said this since 2016. However, when I was looking at my author website last night when we were hanging out and getting ready for this, I discovered that I still had Google Plus listed as a social media that I use. So with that shame on my face, since Google Plus is now defunct and has been for like 2-3 years, next week I'm for real updating my website. So I would prefer not to show it because it makes me sad.
I smell a work date where we all work on websites. That's what I smell.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So, I guess it already did it. I was just going to have it ready. This is my website. I have not had the amazing Amy go through my website just yet. So it might be updated after the end of this workshop. But yeah, I wanted to go with a very passionate theme. And so I found this, what do you call this? It's like a scenery, a background. It's a sunset. And then I made sure that the books that I have available are on my front page. My face is all over the place. I've got the where to find me and all this other good stuff up here. I made sure that I have like an about. This is still under construction because I have to update some things. But then this takes you straight to my Instagram. These are all like Instagram pictures. I share a lot of my good stuff with my Instagram people. And then I make sure that I have a list of my books. This has a new cover, but my website needs to be updated.
Yep. Website party.
Absolutely. And then my blog, you can find all of my writings for Ava Fox on Media. We're doing this awesome Twin Freaks podcast. My blog is really just like where I share all the fun stuff that I'm doing. I don't take it very seriously because I'm not necessarily someone who is, this is how you be an author. I'm more like, hey, this is my life and join me in it. And then on my website, I also have my YouTube, so you can go straight to click on one of these and it'll take you straight to one of my YouTube videos. I have a section where I recommend the different books that I've read. Some of them are fictional books and some of them are craft books. So just whatever, and I need to update it because I've read a few more craft books. And then, of course, there's the, hey, if you want to see how awesome I am and how often I may or may not write my newsletter, sign up here. So.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
You're very welcome.
All right, so I'm not seeing any other questions. Do you see any on the YouTube proper?
There was one from Misty Kate that is lost in the conversation. She said, love this, the media kit, but what if you're not, oh, you already got to that one.
Mhm.
Did you do the video anthologies?
Mhm.
Yes, you did. All right, never mind. I'm going back to sleep.
I'm not sure if it's going to be a website critique party or if it's just going to be something that we do on the back end, because I know that personally my website needs so much updating, and I don't know if I want to put all of that on the internet, and the frustration on my face. So much frustration. Amy has seen that frustration. It's not a good look.
You can do it. It's not that difficult once you familiarize yourself with these, like how to actually post stuff.
Well, and to be fair, I paid someone to build my website for me, and she did a wonderful job based on her idea of what kind of an author I am. But now I'm having to go through and I have to like rebuild the whole thing because I wasn't 100% like certain of who I wanted to be, the author I wanted to be, you know. So now I'm going back and I'm changing everything. So websites can be tricky as well. Thank God for Amy.
I have a distinct feeling that after this workshop, all of us are going to be going and redoing all of our websites, being like, start from scratch. Let's trash the whole thing and start over.
Oh no. I've got way too much stuff on there to scrap it. I'm just gonna improve it.
Okay.
Speaking of starting from scratch, for my pen name, Bliss Winters, Amy and I went through and we created a website for her. And that video is going to be coming up this upcoming week because there are some things that are on the website that essentially a pre-order for the book that hasn't been approved yet through Amazon. So I wasn't able to post that yet. But so that's going to be something that's going to be on this channel where we show how you start to finish, do a free WordPress blog. So stay tuned.
And incorporate the topics and things that have been discussed today.
So it's it's a fun, good time. And you'll see the end results. What?
Oh, I was gonna say in the comments, it looks like you're gonna have to start planning another workshop. I'm just saying.
Perhaps the video will address and Amy has a website section for today that she'll be after me, so there might be some questions that she's going to be answering. So we'll see after all of that happens.
Ooh, Anna, thank you. You got it.
Anna asks, should an author use an avatar or an actual photo to use with your pen name? I think that entirely depends on the author. Like, for instance, I'm using, the avatar for Tamara Woods because that works with the genre. But my pen name, I wanted it to be very separate from me. So I had someone create an avatar for her because that made sense. I don't want my cozy mystery readers who are expecting some Murder, She Wrote to hit up Bliss and get triple X down on the corner on the back seat of the car getting crazy. Like, that would not work for them. It would be a bad time. And I didn't want, so that's why I don't really talk about that pen name a lot, so that there's not a lot of, not cross-contamination, but
Right. And like I use an avatar for my genre. I think that the women who are confident and can put their real life body on as a representation of their pen name is amazing. I use an avatar, but for the books I write outside of my erotica genre, I will put my actual face on it, but just my face. There's no point to have all of me on.
I know that women who do how do we put this? Women who do spicy content that is directly related for other people to consume and enjoy, they'll often use their own photos, but they'll kind of delete the back end information, so it can't be tied necessarily. It can't be easily tied to their own, like their actual person. But
Yeah.
nothing's perfect.
In personal photos that come on your camera, there's a feature called geocaching, and it encrypts information actually into the visuals of the picture. And it's something that you can turn off on your phone. And I always highly recommend you turn it off, just because I'm one of those people, I don't even show my face. But make sure you turn it off. Yes, you have to turn it off too. It's automatically on. You have to turn it off.
Afterwards, you're going to teach me how to do that, right?
Sure. And there's also, for some people, I can't think of the name of it off of my head, but there are tools out there that people have made, and I know there's at least like 2 or 3 that are free, where it's like geocaching removal tools. And these tools will bring up your photo, search to see if there's any, hidden geocaching in it, and then erase it for you. So if you really do plan on using a lot of personal photos, and you are very strictly trying to maintain your privacy and keep it away from any type of real life interaction, yes, you are going to want to make sure that all of your photos don't have geocaching and the other things that can happen to it, where nobody is going to see it, but the computer can.
Okay.
Just keep your eyes open.
Follow-up question: do screenshots of photos get rid of that info?
No. The actual geocaching and everything is so small that it is possible that a screenshot of a photo might be zoomed out enough that a computer wouldn't be able to see it, but I can't confirm that. It really depends on like how the geocaching is put in the picture. So if you're asking for a yes or no, I would say no. If you want to make sure it's not there, then go out of your way and make sure it's not there with a tool that professionally removes it.
Excellent. And that was a lot of fun, and let's move along so that we're not keeping everyone forever. And now it's my turn again. Let's see if she can do it without having a conniption fit. So we are going to talk about how to find your readers. Okay. So we're going to be discussing a little bit of marketing here, a little bit of a character creation, even a little bit of everything. So first off, so this is just a little bit about me, and these are the things that I've been involved in the past that I have somehow found people to enjoy it. I've marketed to people. I've figured out who would be the people who would best benefit from whatever I've created, and put it out there for the world. But first off, my educational background is journalism. So I used to run a online poetry thing called the Reverie Journal. I was also, these 2 things are poetry events that I organized. I've been a YouTube content creator for at least 7 years. I do Project AuthorTube, which is kind of a prelude to NaNoWriMo that happens every October. Last year, we organized Evergreen Writing Oasis. I coordinate #WriteStuff, which is a tweet chat that happens every Tuesday. And I've been self-publishing since 2015. So I do a couple things here and there. So when we're talking about finding a reader, the first thing you want to figure out is, who is your ideal reader? So one thing that I've found interesting is that there's the advice to kind of create an ideal person. And this person is your quote unquote ideal reader. And that person, you'll think about what would be their age, the gender, where they live, what they do, what they like, and why would your work appeal to them? Sometimes, and in real life example could help out. If there's someone that kind of fits what you perceive as that perfect ideal reader, kind of targeting them, quote unquote. And in a question that popped up that I thought was interesting is, why does your ideal reader read? Are they the kind of person who's just reading for information and facts? In that case, you're probably writing nonfiction and you're imparting to them some type of information that's going to help them in their world in some way. Are they looking to escape? Are they looking to fulfill romance? Are they looking to explore? And so they're able to do that with your sci-fi adventure books. So craft your ideal reader. And remember, a major key in knowing your reader is knowing your genre. So who that reader is entirely dependent on the genre, because my reader who is reading erotica is not going to be the same necessarily as my cozy mystery reader. And the way to really figure out your genre is to read it and totally immerse yourself in that genre. And I advise, just personally, that whatever genre or genres you're writing, let them be things that you actually enjoy. If you are just noticing, oh, wow, romance is the number one selling genre in the world, I'm going to start writing romances, but you don't enjoy reading romances, this is not going to do you any good. You're not going to enjoy this process. You're not even going to really want to write the books, because why would you? This isn't something you like to read. So instead, find what you enjoy and put yourself out there in that way. So now that you have found this ideal reader, where do you find them? So one place is on social media. And I kind of think of each social media app as having its own personality, right? So on Twitter, you find, again, so there's 250 characters. So the information is coming very fast, very quick. Brevity is important. And using hashtags is incredibly important. And you find that the age group for Twitter is primarily from 20s to in their 40s. Those are the people who are using Twitter. Whereas with Facebook, you have longer posts that are being able to be shared. The aging is kind of older. Younger folks are not really about that Facebook life. This is not where they're hanging out. It's more of your older audience. For me, this is where I tend to find my cozy readers, because a lot of them join the different cozy reader groups. And there's also a lot of cozy mystery author groups that I'm able to tap into to network and to do more within my genre. TikTok is interesting. It's very interesting because pre-pandemic, it was very much a younger platform. But then after, we dealt with this Ponderosa, people like me were like, well, I'm just going to join TikTok. And, it's totally ironic. And I think this app is stupid. And now I check it all the time. So the age range of people who are on TikTok has now gotten a bit older. So we have even elder millennials and Gen Xers who are involved in TikTok. In terms of being an author on TikTok, I have noticed a huge boost when it comes to romances and erotica. There tends to be a lot of passion behind it from those readers. And when they find a book and it really hits for them and people start talking and circulating and sharing it amongst themselves, book sales jump. So don't sleep on it if that's a medium that you enjoy. And of course, there's Instagram, and the little G is Goodreads. So other places that you could find your ideal reader, it could be online, like with Goodreads groups, Facebook groups, at libraries. A lot of times when you will go to a library, they will have like bulletin boards that will list different clubs and book groups that come through, or you can ask your reference librarian. Bookstagrammers, people love to showcase their bookses to showcase their books in a beautiful aesthetic way. And when you're searching through hashtags that are relevant to your genre and what you write, you will often find people who are interested in perhaps reviewing books or sharing more books, and you can approach them and talk to them about it and see if they want to review your own work. Same with BookTube and Book Talk, and again, book clubs. So events, as Skye mentioned earlier, conferences and festivals, there are all kinds of book conferences, whether they're online or IRL. And festivals, you can think about festivals in terms of course, book related, but also topics that relate to the things that you write about. So for instance, if you have a main character who let's say they do a lot of cosplay, like cosplay is their jam. Well, you could potentially be able to set up a booth at some type of like comic convention. And of course, you'd have to contact the organizers and see if there's a way to do that. But it is an option. Other events, going to book signings, readings, either sometimes at readings, if you talk to the author, if you have a relationship with the author, they might allow you to set up a book stand there, or of course hosting your own reading, and hosting your own book signings, and at clubs and etc. Because there's so many ways that you can get yourself out there to meet up with your readers. So you have found these readers. How do you keep them? Engagement. You have to continually put yourself out there to them. There are a lot of things that are competing with people's attention, whether it's Netflix, television, movies, radio, TikTok, like everything is in competition with you and could be between you and your reader. So if you have something new that puts you on their radar, they're going to remember you for that next book, for that next Kindle Vella post or what have you. So number one way to keep people's attention, putting out a new book. Unfortunately, putting out a new book, I mean, granted, there's some people who are able to post a new book a month. God love them. I don't know how they do it. They have a wherewithal that I do not emulate, but being able to have new books, and from your books, there's also little different ways that you can continue to bring these books up to your readers' attention so they'll continue to remember them. Like Aphrodite Lee is really, really great at figuring out creative ways to continue to talk about her characters, whether it's with personality quizzes to see which of her characters are you like, or creating character cards so that, oh, here's a new thing. Here's my characters. Remember these guys? I'll be talking about them again, and there's going to be a book with them soon. And doing these creative things, sharing it on your social media and within your newsletters and on your websites and such, as a way to put yourself out there and remind people, I have this book. Also, newsletters. Newsletters are so important, and I know that they're kind of a pain. I know it. I recognize it. I feel it in my heart as well. But the thing is, those people who sign up for your newsletters, they care. They do care. They want to know when your next book is coming out. Sometimes they want to know more information about you. It could, if you are an author who is trying to write nonfiction for other authors, for instance, your newsletter is going to be a way for you to introduce more information for them, so as you are writing, let's say you're writing a book about how to write 10,000 words a day, because you're trying to help people to write a book a month or something. I don't know. You could be producing posts in your newsletter that are related to that book that's approaching, whether it's anecdotally, maybe you're talking about your process and it's about stuff that's not necessarily going to be in the book. There's also videos and blog posts. We're on YouTube. Most of us here have a YouTube channel. By having that okay, so personally, I don't make as many videos as I used to, but I do try to do a weekly stream so that people can join me and chat with me. And that's a way that I kind of keep myself relevant on this platform. In addition to doing collaborations like this, writing blog posts that are somehow related to what you're writing or telling people about your life, just updating them on what you're doing, updating your socials regularly. A lot of people suggest that you update your socials, whichever ones that you've decided that you're going to use, daily. And with most platforms, more than once. But that could be a lot. You're juggling work, school, kids, the spouse, so much stuff's happening. So that might not be something that you can necessarily do all the time, but regularly. Make sure that there's at least these days in the week where you're posting something, so that they'll be like, oh, I know that. So I know that Kay is going to be posting on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays on her Instagram. So I will check that out. Another way, advertising. I am not someone who is big on advertising at this point. My advertising budget is minuscule. However, I have found that when I, for instance, do a Facebook ad, whether it's for, I've done them for my newsletter to get more people to sign up for my newsletter. And also when I launch a book, it does help to get my name out there. And I do see some ROI, return on
investment.
Thank you. Okay, so, and then there is Patreon, Ko-fi, OnlyFans, and other sites where you are able to have your favorite fans or your biggest fans come to you, and they give you a monthly or one-time donation for you to give them extra information, behind the scene type of things. And those can be very, very helpful with maintaining engagement. The newsletter. Why? My biggest thing is that I am an old crone, and I have seen so many social media sites go the way of the dodo. Like, remember Friendster? You probably don't, because it is, RIP, super dead. But a newsletter, you have the control of that information. Once those people give you their email addresses, as long as they don't drop you like a hot rock or decide not to use that email anymore, now you have a direct one-to-one contact for them. And regardless of what happens, even if, let's say, you're using MailChimp and MailChimp dies, you are still able to download those email addresses and go to the other place and still be able to get out those newsletters directly to the people. You're not dependent on someone else. So with my newsletters, I think about the people who are receiving them are people who are really interested in my books. So that's who I am trying to get. I'm trying to get my ideal reader to come forth to hang out with me. What do you put in your newsletter? That entirely depends on you. I think that it could be intimidating because it could seem like you have to have X, Y, and Z, and you have to follow some type of arbitrary rules, but you really don't. I find that I like to do like newsletter swaps, like we mentioned earlier. And so what a newsletter swap is, it's an opportunity to network and to give really your readers new things to read. So a lot of times I'll join newsletter swaps where we're either signing people up to give us their email addresses and they're getting a free book or a book that is deeply discounted, like 99 cents. And that is a way to just bring more people to the fold and get your books hopefully in front of some new people who might enjoy them and sign on. So the where. With my newsletter, I have that link everywhere. I have it in the description of here. I have it on my link tree. If you go to my social media spots, there's a link tree there. And if you click on it, it's in there. I even have the link in the back of my books, in the back matter, so that if someone they're at the end of the book, or sometime, I think I generally have it at the end of the book, then they can sign up to my newsletter and find out when I release the next one. So, networking. The love between writers and writers. That is a huge way to find more readers. So, we've discussed earlier with collabs, like with the video anthologies that were mentioned, or the book anthology that Skye mentioned, or even this. This is a collaboration between these lovely ladies and myself, and this is a way for us to get more people to check us out, come and visit our sites, and to give you information that we think would be helpful for you. So collabs, generally speaking, I like to do things that I feel has something that will benefit whoever is involved in the collaboration, but also our audience. Like with Evergreen last year, we wanted to make sure that people had a one-stop shop to discuss and be involved with many different aspects of being a writer. Whereas today we decided to kind of distill it down to just the one thing so that we would be able to have a more nuanced conversation and a more focused look into something. So other ways to network, doing chats. Say, for instance, having, if you have a Twitch channel and you're an author, you can have a chat there where you're talking to your audience about your writing journey on the story that you're working on at the moment. You can join Twitter chats. You can join mine. It's #WriteStuff every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, only on the tweeters. But there are tons of different tweet chats that are available where you can interact with other writers and discuss things, learn from them, and potentially grow. Guest blog posts. I know that blogs aren't as in vogue as they used to be, but there is still a valid way of giving and receiving information. And there's a lot of blogs who do look for new to them authors to impart some kind of wisdom or knowledge. So, and writing for them will give you some more of that sweet SEO. Writer conferences. I think that in every single state, there's at least one writers conference that happens. Now, granted, we're currently in a panoramic, so might not necessarily be able to find something to go to this year, but I think that even in West Virginia, yes, the West Virginia Writers Conference, it actually did happen in June. I didn't attend, but there's also online writers conferences. And, and those are ways for you to not only learn something new, but to network with people. And especially when they are IRL and they're in like your area, your neck of the woods, you can start learning about, let's say, writers groups that meet in your local area and that you didn't necessarily know about, or events that are going to be happening that you could potentially participate in. You can, and like Skye said, that a lot of people that she's met in different conferences are now her friends on Facebook. That has definitely happened for me too. When I went to different writing conferences and I met people and we kind of vibed, and now we like, chat with each other every once in a while and wish each other happy birthday. Facebook groups, definitely an excellent way to network. I have a Facebook group that goes along with #WriteStuff. There's also 20 books to 50K. That is an amazing resource for indie authors to get all kinds of information. Like, it is chock full of information. My group is more of a place to hang out, crack jokes, ask for some questions, share some resources. But 20 books to 50K is all about the business. So if you're very interested in leveling up your business aspect of your writing career, that is an excellent place to go. And again, newsletter swaps. All right, so let's have some questions. We're not going to do a 5-minute sprint. Let's just do some questions. See what's happening.
I just want to say real quick that while I've been watching the chat, I love how everyone is kind of networking with each other. We've already got one hookup. Misty Kate's going to teach us, Barrett, how to handle Discord, which is awesome.
Very cool.
Another thing that I want to add on to yours about the advertising, it's not just like fake Facebook ads or Amazon ads or even anything like that. Newspapers. There are newspapers that still run ads. You can totally at least contact them. Again, with the magazines, like I mentioned earlier, you don't have to just write articles for them, but see if they have any advertising opportunities. And I am about 10 minutes from my local radio station, and I've talked to them a couple times. So possibly in the future, I might even do a radio ad for my local radio station. Those are other advertising avenues you can look into as well.
What's the local access on television? So if you have a local access channel, that's another resource that you could potentially use to either do an ad or be interviewed by someone, or to even do a little show of your own. So let's see.
And I'd like to say something about advertising before we get off the topic. Advertising is I don't like to use the word luxury, but it's something that not everybody can afford. My big thing about advertising is you better be 1000% ready before you buy anything. You would be amazed how many people are like, oh, well, I made these dimensions of an image because I know I'm going to use it on these platforms, and then other opportunities come along. Or, you bought a package deal and you didn't even know that you need different size images for these different types of things. And then if you try to use the images that you have with the different sizes, it ain't going to work. Like, don't worry too much about investing in your advertising until you actually have, I would say, at least 2 books out. As a marketing person, I'd say at least 2, because, using advertising to market your book, if it's your first one, great. It means you have the budget to do so. Of course, you will get some traction, even if it's minor. You'll get some traction through these advertisements. My research and my niche and what I tend to do, it's more effective if you have at least 2, because then you can say, oh, hey, I got your attention. Check out what else you can see. Check out what else you can experience and read with me, and that sort of thing. So don't bother with advertising until you are 1000% ready, because not only do you have to have resources, blurbs, captions, you're going to want reviews. That way it's not just you going, hey, I'm awesome. There's actually reviews that you can refer people to, Goodreads, Amazon, that kind of thing. It's an endeavor in itself, and if you don't live up to the amount of work, it's a waste. You're missing out on opportunities if you don't have everything that you need lined up. So especially when you're getting started, and not a waste in general. I want to clarify that. I'm not saying advertising in general is a waste. That's my profession. Please don't fire me. I'm not saying it's in general a waste. I'm saying that if you are not ready for the advertising tactics that you've taken on, you are cheating yourself out of opportunities. So it's great. Make sure you're ready.
Yeah, that's why I didn't focus too much on it,
Yeah.
because I myself am not doing a lot of advertising.
And it's a lot more complicated than you might think too. You need JPEGs and PNGs of images, and captions and alt text and image titles, or they're all three different things. Like it, when you really embrace it and lean into the work and you're like, okay, I'm going to be very, very thorough, it adds up. That's why a lot of people hire other people to do it for them. Just saying. So,
do any of you have advice for how to deal with, or how you each deal with, negative community members on your platforms? I tend to not engage.
Mm-hmm.
There's always going to be people who do not like me. I know. It shocks me too. I'm a delight. There's definitely people who do not like me, and they are always going to exist. And I can either engage with whatever they're saying and feel like crap and really just, it's just going to make me feel bad. I'm not going to be able to reason with them and be like, hey, I'm actually amazing. People don't like you. People don't like what you're doing. People have decided that your hair color sucks, and they're going to, talk smack about it. Well, that's fine. Block is an option, and ignoring is my favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
I mean, I pretty much do the same thing, but I do, I know that I rely on my community of friends and writers to help me block them and then get me out of what they were saying isn't true, and I know that I'm amazing and everything is going to be great. So but you have to read it first before you know that this person's being a toxic pile of dumpster goo. So I mean, the moment that you see it, block that person. Do not engage, because that's exactly what they want. They are baiting you, and the moment that you take that bait, they're going to just keep on going. So before you do anything, block them, take a breath, and then reach out to your community and your friends and other writers and do what you need to do to get back on the saddle and remember, no, I am great, and people love me, and that's one person and a trillion people that live on this planet. So it's like a fart. They will blow away soon enough.
So Barrett goes on to say, maybe asked it a different way, what responsibility do you think the author has in maintaining a safe/positive environment, and how do you as authors manage that?
I can speak to that a little bit. I do mentoring for where I got my certification from, and I just re-upped my mentorship little certificate thing, so I just reviewed this information like 3 days ago. What responsibility do you think the author has in maintaining a safe and positive environment? Your only responsibility is the content that you actually provide. On social media, you cannot even just hold yourself responsible for the insert expletive here that people are going to bring to you because they're nutcases. Your sole responsibility is maintaining yourself in that professional, respectful, good, quote, quote, way. How do you manage that? The block button. And, as a mentor, they made sure to walk through and say, there may be moments where you do feel compelled to engage. There may be moments where your character has been questioned, or, it's a really relevant social issue you have strong opinions on. There will be triggers, and they're going to come out of nowhere because you think you're just cruising along posting happy stuff, and then all of a sudden some expletive comes along and you're like, uh-oh, I've been confronted with this bad thing. If you are not someone to engage, hell yeah, block button, be done with it. If you actually do feel compelled, always wait until your blood pressure comes back down. Yeah. Never respond in the moment, because always remember, you are responsible for your response. Yep. You didn't bring that nonsense to your platform, but you are responsible and will be judged for your reaction to it. So But keep in mind, that's your real responsibility. That's you and what you did. And always wait if you have to respond. Always be respectful, even when, you know, they don't deserve it. It's more about your behavior in that moment, especially on social platforms. You know, these things can and will be screenshot. And you never know when that's going to circle back around to you. So mind your behavior and the quality of what you produce, and know it is going to happen, and it's okay to disengage, block, and move on.
Yeah, I am a very reactive person when it comes to wonderful human beings who are an expert of nothing and know very little about everything.
That is a much more creative way to say it than insert expletive.
And when I block someone, or when I step back to take a deep breath and to reevaluate the situation, I usually give it like 2 days. If after 2 days I'm still upset about whatever random person, then yes, I need to sit down with my circle, and I need to come up with a way of saying, hey, you were wrong, I'm still amazing, have a nice day. Because if I were to respond within those 2 days, y'all haven't seen that side of Dana yet.
Are the screwdrivers going to come out? Is that what we're hearing?
Yeah, and it'll make me look bad. And like I said before,
Yes.
I took the bait, and I'm doing exactly what they wanted me to do. I'm making myself as an author look bad. I'm saying things that are emotional based, which I will probably regret, because I typically always do when I let my emotions get the best of me. So yes, absolutely. I think that everyone's advice has been wonderful. Ignore, take a breath, move on.
And I'd like to point out that if you are a reactive person, like Dana is saying, sometimes if it's still nagging at you after 2 days, sometimes that's an indicator to not do anything. If what this is really something that has got you to a point where you know you just want to unleash, don't. That's the key to disengage. Yeah. Remember, you know, you are building a persona here, and just like famous people with their tweets and all that kind of stuff, cancel culture past a certain point of popularity becomes a thing. So you do have to mind your behavior. And if you find yourself in those grips of Dana's moment where it's like, I've gotten my validation from, you know, the people whose opinion I actually value, and I feel more adjusted, but I still feel compelled to say something. There's very few instances where where responding actually will be a benefit to you in any way. Very few instances.
Does anyone else have any questions before we move on? And I hope that everyone is enjoying this. Keep in mind that there is a exit survey at the end that you can absolutely take and let us know how you felt about this event. Hopefully you are enjoying yourselves.
The only thing I want to add on to that, I agree with everything everyone else has said so far, but the one thing that I know that I have to tell myself constantly whenever dealing with buttheads is that no matter who you are, you're always going to be the enemy in someone else's story. I think that's like the best advice I've ever gotten. Like, you can be the kindest person on earth, and you're still going to be at least one person out there that's going to hate you no matter what. And as long as I remember that, it's much easier to deal with buttheads.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Am I missing anything that hasn't popped up?
I don't think so. Did we? Yes, we did get to Barrett's question. So I don't see any others.
What's next? Amy discussing websites.
Yes, I got my pad and my pen, and it's ready, and I am like, let's go, Amy. Tell me how I did all the things wrong so I can fix them.
Okay, tell me when you're ready with the screen share.
I am ready.
Okay, so click present. And now I've got the space button. Okay. For anybody who doesn't know me, my screen's working, right? Everything good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
It's all good.
For anybody who doesn't know me, I am Amy. I will refuse to say my actual last name. There's my Twitter handle. I am here to talk about author branding and your website. I'm an SEO consultant. Oops, sorry, push the button too soon. I'm an SEO consultant certified through UC Davis, and I'm lucky enough to be friends with all these wonderful people on the screen today, with a special thanks to Skye, because she's the one that brought me into this lovely community. I'm here to add a little bit of technical application or admin, whatever you want to call it, to just this whole discussion about the author platform by giving some advice for your website specifically. So thank you for hearing what I have to say today. Now, most of you that are here today perusing this presentation are authors, and you're here looking for advice on how to brand yourself as authors. I know, shocking revelation, but bear with me. When it comes to your website, believe it or not, that doesn't help very much. What your profession is doesn't actually have that much of an effect on how you construct your website. It's all about the content. So I want to take a step back from focusing on being an author, and I want to discuss the website as a tool, because no matter how you use it, it is a tool for your platform. It's, and it should be treated as such. And I say that as an SEO, my job is to make that tool do all the work for you. So keep that in mind, that no matter how simple you think your platform is and how not serious, i.e., advertising and that sort of thing, that you're not at that stage yet, your website's still a tool no matter what. First off, I'd like to ask the question to get, take a step back. What is the purpose of your website? And by that, I mean, what do you want your website to do for you? Now, I know your mind just went in 20 different directions because there's just so many possibilities, and you're thinking about what's possible, what you have on your website, what you're planning, and does that question even actually help anyone? Well, believe it or not, no matter what your scenario is, no matter where you are in your author journey, building your platform and all that kind of thing, your website scenario is, your dream website is going to fall into one of two concepts, either a more personal website or a more professional website. The personal website is more of a central hub, which coordinates all your platforms and efforts. Everything you do is not just represented on the website, but it might be elaborated on and explored here, like a multifaceted, multidimensional, multi-purpose blog. All your information is there. It's usually the find my everything here at my website type of situation, where you've made it a point to make sure every single thing is there. That's really great for an author. The other option that you have is a professional website. And by professional, I don't mean you paid somebody to set it up for you. I mean, the purpose of it is more oriented towards business goals. It's more of an advertisement. It showcases the products and services, which, believe it or not, things like reviewing books and giving writing advice kind of falls under the products and services. So if you don't have a book out, you still have things of value that you could be presenting in a more advertisement type way. So everything around that website is coordinated around the classic idea of what can I do for you? Any good advertisement is. So let's add a little bit more explanation to the personal website. A wide variety of content, which centers more around the individual and the experience, includes as much, if not more, thoughts and opinions as resources and general information. If you're there to talk about you and not writing craft, that's more of a personal website. This personal website has some strengths and weaknesses, of course. The strengths are that this is your central hub. The strengths are that you can easily direct any and all prospective interests to that central location where they can find everything. And if you're still in the networking phase of what you do, that's what you want. You don't want anybody to miss out on opportunities to interact with you. The weaknesses are that, and this goes with any website, a sloppy presentation will appear amateur and therefore questionable. And believe it or not, The more things you talk about on a website, the more topics you discuss, the less effective it actually is for ranking for any one of those things. Now, if you're talking about being an author, this goes into keywords, things like genres and writing tips and tricks and writing journeys, those sorts of things are on topic. But when you talk more about your personal experience and outside hobbies and stuff like that, for ranking, it dilutes the purpose. If you've got a unique name, you'll always rank for a unique name. That talks about more like long-term, do I just want to be, if somebody Googles science fiction writer, are they going to see me? That's the sort of goal that talking about too many topics on a site will dilute it. Your opportunities, brag about the different content. You get to talk about what a hotshot you are, hype yourself. Your website allows you to do that for everything. You can showcase the variety of your interests, your activities, and simultaneously, you can spotlight the things that are most relevant right now. And that's part of what makes a website a tool, is because you choose what content is on there. You choose the message. You choose the purpose of the site. You choose what it does for you. And the downfall to a personal website, the threats, is potential customers, i.e. people who will buy your books, people who are trying to use you as a resource of knowledge, experience. They might see a wide variety of content as sporadic, find it less viable, and in worst case scenario, lose interest. So the personal website, I know, is what most of the people listening here today have, and that's not a problem. It's just keep in mind that if your goal is for someone to type in science fiction writer and find you, your website needs to be an advertisement for science fiction writing, not necessarily an advertisement for insert author name here. It's complicated, it's SEO marketing type stuff. But that's how we get into professional website. This is when you are really focusing on displaying your goods and services, like I said, your books, even things like book reviews, with descriptions and availability. Now, descriptions and availability are general. Your availability of your social networking is saying, hey, I do a stream every Thursday. That counts as availability. These terms, like I'm saying, are a little bit more broad. So don't think that just because all of this sounds like you're going to be in the stockroom of a store that your website has to match that. It's really about just being aware of how you use these different tools and all these different parts of the platform. The professional website, the strengths are an accurate and cohesive presentation of what matters the most. Just the essentials, no diluting it, no confusing it. Nobody is going to stumble across your hobby for Animal Crossing and realize that, oh, hey, this person's actually a romance author. None of that's going to happen here. It makes it clear what and where the value is. These books are an escape for you. These books are entertainment. These books are informative for self-help. Whatever your strength is for your product, that's where you can showcase it. The weaknesses is that, especially when you're at the networking point of building your author platform, you can undersell the community that you bring, like just where you socialize and social elements of the work that you do, i.e., the weekly streams are productivity streams. That is value to the community. Everybody gets to sit down, chit chat, but they still get that devoted writing time. That has value to it. And an advertisement site, while it is an advertisement, which is something that you're going to need, people who are coming to you because they want your interaction will see it as two-dimensional. Personally, that's a good thing because I'm here to turn your website into a tool to sell a product. For authors, like everyone else on the screen, if your website made you seem uninviting, that could be alienating for some people. The opportunity is to only talk about the most relevant features. It's easy to figure out what your most relevant features are. And this work that you do will always be viable. If you set your site up as an advertisement more so than that central hub, you don't have to update it on a regular basis. Now, any large change in your platform, you will want to update it on. But generally speaking, if you set it up well, it can maintain that way for a long time without, becoming irrelevant as a tool for your platform. And as I mentioned, the threat is that because it can seem two-dimensional, not a bad thing, just a way to describe it, you can alienate potential allies, even customers, by not showing the opportunities that they were expecting to be able to interact with you. Because like I'm saying, if your focus is, networking and socializing so that you can build an audience, build followers, build people who are invested enough in you to buy your book and then leave a review, an advertisement website is just going to mean that all of that interaction and all that other kind of stuff, you keep it on those other platforms. That's just the best way to do it. Which one do I need? And I've touched on it a couple of times already. Most of you have personal ones. Those of you have books out, you want to make sure that they're advertisement enough. Honestly, my professional advice is to check your list. We've got these fun bingo cards that Carrow assembled for us. You already have an idea of the elements that are in your social platform. Okay, I like to watch TikTok. I will never make a TikTok. You couldn't pay me to do it. That will never be part of my business's platform. So you already have a list of the moving pieces. Now prioritize them. You do have to assign a value to them so that you can figure out how to manage your workload. So go ahead and prioritize what pieces you want or need to go on the website. And then at a certain point, it's okay to just go for it. Because remember, you can always transition from one to the other when the time comes. It's just a matter of work. You won't ruin anything by focusing on one concept over the other today. If you are at the point in your platform where a website needs to be present, you are not going to set yourself up for failure just because you thought you needed a personal one, but you could have benefited in XYZ ways from an advertisement/professional one. At a certain point, it's okay to just go for it and, get yourself out there. It's okay. You're not going to mess it up beyond fixing. That's what people like me are for fixing stuff. Central Hub advertisement. I pushed my button too late. Okay. So now you've got all of these different pieces we've talked about, visual resources, calendar events that you might want to feature on there, networking opportunities, media kits, all of this stuff. And you're looking at applying this author branding essentially on your website. Now, no matter what, you're going to go through 3 parts. You're going to go through your needs, where you need to know your most important parts and how you plan to use them for your benefit. Is this platform better for actually talking to people? I'm going to use this to engage. Is this one better for entertaining people? I'm going to use this one to make people laugh. Know them. Beware. There's tons of resources. Everything everybody has said. Just, don't overthink it at that point. Know your options too. Figure out what you can or can't do based on tools, skill, time, budget, and the amount of effort. You might be really excited to build your author platform, but real life happens. You got to make time for it. So you got to keep your workload in mind, which is why I'm telling you to step back, prioritize, and get this little workflow going for your website, because it doesn't matter what you're trying to do. This is what works. Know your goals. Keep your main goal and focus as you arrange things. And that goes for both your visuals and your content. For example, if you are trying to present yourself as a resource, let's say you have some marketing knowledge, or you even just do beta reading, you're enthusiastic about that, you're going to want to put that higher up on your web page than your Instagram feed. Plain and simple, even if your Instagram feed is great. And maybe even your newsletter sign up higher on that page. You're not going to want to make sure that anything that's really valuable is under anything that's just amusing. That's pretty simple, but you'd be surprised how many people think, I have a great following on my Instagram feed. It's a quality feed. I'm going to feature that higher up in the page. Not unless you're marketing your skills to do your Instagram feed. I need to know who you are and what you got before I need to see that you're good with Instagram. So that's your basic 3 things, basic 3 steps. I know, like I'm saying, this is general information, but remember that as an author, you've got so many options. You're going to want to go through these right here. It's the only way to filter out all the stuff that's not going to do you any good. So now the part that's useful for everyone, no matter what your goal is, incorporating author branding on your website. Now, these are the branding opportunities for your website. These are the opportunities for you to actually implement the tips and tricks, strategies, all those sort of things that have been mentioned today, and from all the other resources you're going to find everywhere else. Content, your blog posts and page content. Now, this is an SEO tip, so this one is worth writing down if nothing else I've said so far has been. Your blog posts are an opportunity for you to use other keywords associated with your genre, your business goals. Am I trying to actually market myself as a book reviewer or as a writing craft resource? Your blog posts on your website, besides like the obvious opportunities like Tamara mentioned, where you can jump over to someone else's and get featured and hopefully attract, it helps to build the theme of your website. So blog posts, page content are opportunities for you to use those keywords to make sure that no search engine is going to misinterpret what you are. And that another way to do that is also on the images on your site. Another little SEO small tidbit trick is you need to title your images. Image underscore blah, 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 JPEG does not cut it. You're missing a big opportunity. Stock photo, background, sunset, Dana Gaulin, erotica author. That's the type of title that you should have on images. It's an opportunity to make sure that your name and your genre, and if you have books out and this graphic actually goes to a book, it's an idea where you can feature it there too. They are an opportunity to incorporate more of your vital keywords. Because as Dina said from the very beginning, these keywords actually make a huge difference as to whether or not this website is even worth you maintaining. That's the work you got to put into it to turn it into a tool that's going to be long lasting instead of just something else you have to maintain while you're trying to put time into writing. Social media, if you use it, link it. Now, my big thing as an SEO, I try to tell people, and pen names, this is a good example, be mindful of whether or not your names match, because you might love your Twitter handle because you set it up in 8 years ago and you still love it. If that Twitter handle is absolutely nothing like your author name or anything else on your platform, if it's not the same, you need to go out of your way to actually put that name in a heading, maybe an H2 on your pages, so that search engines will realize that these two things are connected. Because if they're not similar, search engines aren't going to put it together. Oh, random tip 2, images. How I said the titles, you need spaces between your words. You have to have the spaces in between your words. When you don't, Google sees that chunk of letters as a whole new word. Search engines are not going to differentiate stock photo, sunset, background if it's all one continuous string of letters. So make sure you space your words. Links. And by this is everything that Skye has talked about in the media kit. Any relevant information, your media kit. Do you have a legit resume? Are you just someone who's been writing articles and talking about them on, newspapers, magazines? Do you actually work in an industry related to publishing? Sometimes your actual resume might find its way onto the website if you're comfortable with your identity finding its way onto your website. Of course, where do you buy, and sometimes how to pay. Some of you authors are offering services, and whether or not your website accepts payments, if you actually do offer a service and you want search engines to take you seriously, they are going to expect, some mention of how to pay for this thing. Otherwise, it seems sort of scammy. My personal favorite, and the value that I bring to the discussion today, is the SEO. And these are the 3 main areas to focus on with your SEO. Everything else you can leave to a later date or to a professional. The 3 things you want to pay attention to are your headings, pages and blog posts, especially on your pages. Image titles and the alt text that goes with them. Alt text is also very viable for accessibility. It's very useful for a lot of these screen readers and those sorts of things too. So if that is part of your platform, your inclusiveness and all that sort of thing, that's an opportunity that if you miss it, you kind of missed that one big time. So keep alt text in mind also. And lastly is the metadata for your pages and posts. Now, depending on how your website is set up, sometimes these are really easy to get to and sometimes they're really hard. For the metadata, you're going to want to put in your keywords. I always recommend for like authors that you pick like maybe 4 keywords. One is obviously going to be your genre. One is obviously going to be your name. And if you don't have any published works out, you're going to want to find basically some value that you offer. And metadata is your opportunity to mix and match these keywords and make sure that the most essential ones show up in your most essential SEO opportunities, these 3 areas: headings, image information, metadata. And then finally, your newsletter, because it goes hand in hand no matter how you choose to use it. Like if you are actually relying on your newsletter to accomplish any type of business goal for you, if you don't have it on your homepage, you are cheating yourself. You're missing that really big opportunity. It's very important. Don't think that just because you don't know how much value there is in your newsletter that you need to question its value and whether or not it needs to be put somewhere. No. I always tell everybody to see if you can figure out how to put your newsletter sign up in the footer of your website. That way it's on every single page, every single time, no matter what else you do to the site. So that brings us to the home page, which I know is where everybody is, of course, going to focus, because what goes on the about page is pretty obvious. What goes on services page, pretty obvious. So here's my must-haves for a home page. First of all, your headings have to be good. Your H1 heading has to be your most important keyword. Probably going to be your author name. When your book comes out, it will change over to whatever book you're trying to promote at the time. That will be your most valuable one. There can only be one H1 heading on a page. H2s, you can go nuts with them. You can have as many as you want. The point is only one H1 has to have your most important keyword. And pro tip, it doesn't have to be the first thing on your website. If you have an idea for your website where you want the top of the page to be, you know, some sliders with some blog posts that you think are important, your H1 can actually be anywhere. It does not have to be the first thing that you see. It just has to be the only one. Images, your names and the genres should be in the titles and the alt text. Like I said, it's an opportunity for you to pack keywords into places where the search engines are actually going to be focusing on. Your social media links should also be on your, images, before I get off the subject, sorry. It's an excellent opportunity also to add the visual elements, like Dana discussed with, you know, color schemes. And, you know, Dana's website, she wanted passion. So it's not just that really rich purple color. It's that beautiful sunset right behind that backdrop of that couple looking all cutesy on her cover. So you really get that whole feeling of, you know, oh yeah, it's a couple and it's beautiful romantic sunset. You get that just by looking at that visual on the website. Those are the types of visuals that you can endeavor to recreate for yourself. And that's the opportunities for you to implement the visual elements of your author branding that a lot of people talk about. Pick your colors. Some people even say pick filters on pictures. All that stuff is a matter of preference. I would say stick to your colors because they are expected in genres, as everyone has mentioned. But like I saw somebody one time saying you had to have like a certain set of keywords every single time, and you had to have certain filters on your images every single time so that every single image looked the same. I personally don't think that matters. I understand the value of it if you're trying to make your platform a continuous nonstop advertisement. That works, because no doubt you will have noticed over the years that different businesses promote different ways, different visuals. So it can serve a purpose. It's not actually necessary. So that's it about images. You know, the background of your website, I always recommend leave it solid. If you get really fancy with the background of your website, it slows down the loading speed. especially if you want a video or something in the background of your website, way slows down the loading speed. Not worth it, in my opinion. But it does give you certain visuals, like not to teaser too much of Tamara's upcoming website, but her website is for an author pen name that has spicy times. And the first image that you see at the top of the page, oh, you know you're in for something spicy. Those are the opportunities. And you'll see them on a bunch of other people's websites. It's okay to find an idea that you like, try to emulate it. I always tell people that if you like it, it's okay to try to emulate it. Social media, obviously, if you use it, link it. And if any of these social media platforms are actually very important to the building of your author platform, it's okay to give them their own section on the homepage. If you're someone who has a regular stream or you put out regular videos on YouTube, it's okay to have a YouTube section on your website homepage and to have the YouTube link up in the social media. You know, all websites have those little icons now. If it's really valuable to your whole platform, it's okay. And quite honestly, if you do a good job with your SEO and your keywords and all that sort of stuff, you don't have to focus on just one. If you wanted to do every single one that you have on your homepage, it can be done if you do it right. I would not recommend it if you don't know how to do it right, because it will just sort of look like overkill to an audience. But you can have more than one. You don't have to pick just one, just the ones that have the most value. And honestly, the people are most likely to click and follow through. Upcoming events. Now, I was going through this with Tamara when we were setting up the website and all that stuff. Upcoming events. Nothing is too small. You just need something to give the impression of activity. And yes, I said give the impression of activity because we all know at some point you're going to stall. And when you stall, your website's probably not going to be that important to you. Life happens. So just to have something suggesting activity, something upcoming, makes a huge difference. It doesn't have to be a book release. It can just be, you know, upcoming. At some point, I'm going to do a book review for this book, and it'll be on YouTube. You know good and well that it's probably going to be another 2 or 3 months. The website and the strangers who come across your website don't. So it has value, even if you know it's a little, you know, not actually that relevant in the immediate future. It's still a useful thing. And I also recommend go ahead and put a little bit of your about on your homepage. Now, this is a really useful thing that relates back to what Skye said about media kits. You want a long bio and a short bio. Your long bio belongs on your about page. Your short bio belongs on your homepage. It's going to be an opportunity to just fire off a couple keywords, and it doesn't have to be very long, like 3 or 4 sentences top. You're really just here to let people know who and what. That's it. Everything else you're going to be representing with the other content. And of course, the newsletter, because it is so valuable, it has to be visible on the homepage. It has to be there. And I make a big deal about pointing this out, even though it's obvious, because depending on what your service provider is, sometimes it's just a big pain in the butt to get those actually connected to your website. And it can be very discouraging. And you can think, oh, well, I have a link, you know, to this page. That's, you know, I can just mention it, or I can just put it up there in my socials. That needs to be done, yes, but no matter how difficult it is, you need at the very least to have a section that says newsletter with your little, like, 1 sentence, 2 sentence blurb, like Dana touched on, with asking about would it be worth your time to put that on the media kit. So I just rambled on for several minutes and gave you a whole bunch of information. If you're in your assembling your platform, you're going to be moving on to assembling your website. You've got your visual elements, you've got design, you've got content, you've prioritized what information you actually think is important to put on the website. You've got your SEO, starts all the way in the beginning with your research for your genre, and your pen name goes all the way through to every time you put out a new book. And marketing efforts, in the beginning, your marketing efforts are just going to be your networking, just actually putting yourself out there. That's okay. Eventually, things like advertising come into play, but it's still important to have them represented when you're assembling your website. And I know I keep saying this, but always keep your goal in mind, because it's easy to get carried away with thinking that some things are, very important, and they might not be to you. This is about building your platform for your life, your workload, your journey. So what is your goal? Do I feel like I need a website, but my goal is to actually build interaction on these social media platforms? If that's your goal, then when you're approaching your website, an advertisement might be a better option for you. It's just a more static scenario where you don't have to focus on updating it constantly, where if you're using it as a personal/central hub, every time you take on a new task or a new thing, you're going to want to update it on the website, because that's your find my everything here option. So keep your goal in mind when you're going through all of this. Workload, budget, tools, those things, they really, really make the decision of how much effort to put into your website for you. When you value your time and your tools and your information, eventually your website is going to come clear. Just, got to take a step back so you can observe it with a little bit of distance. Now that you've got all of those pieces, I put this in here. You can find this all over the place, but this is my version of the branded website assembly funnel. And I put this here because if you notice the little purple writing down at the bottom, this approach is beneficial no matter what. I recommend this to everyone every time, because whether you are brand new trying to figure out what to put, whether you realize that, you've got some new stuff to put on your site, or whether you've reached a point where you're like, oops, I changed my mind, I want to rebrand. This is how you do it. You're going to go through the basic steps of gathering your resources, making your plans, coordinating your efforts, which I make a point to put out coordinating your efforts, because at a certain point, especially if you just sort of went for it and you didn't have things like only one name on every single platform in mind the day that you signed up for everything, sometimes it'll be beneficial for you to just go back through and take a step where you make sure that everything matches. Does this logo that I have on my Twitter profile actually match my new logo? Because I barely use Twitter. It's been years since I've updated. Make sure that these things match. It's one of those back-end admin steps that makes a big difference in just the expediency of assembling a website. Your to-do list is different than you make your plan. Make your plan is your trajectory. Your to-do list is your to-do list. And at this point, I always tell everyone, even when I work with clients, I tell them, I'm like, oh, okay, we've reached a point now where we are swimming in our own content. Everything that we've worked on, everything that we've thought about, your brain is just full of it. Take a break. Step back, put it down, and go browse the internet. I always suggest going and comparing your plan to what you've seen on other successful authors, not with the intent of figuring out how to tweak your plan, but just with the intent of seeing and comparing, like, okay, well, they do, they mention this thing in this way. They're using this platform in this way. So they mention it like this. They use a visual promo more so than they use, a video or anything like that. You're not looking at it to try to nitpick your own plan. You're just looking at it to feel better about your own plan. Because things like money for tools and money to buy higher quality stock photos, all of those sort of things, they do make a difference when you're going big scale. When you're indie and when you're smaller and when you're starting out, they really don't. It's about the networking. So at a certain point, put it up and go live. It's okay to reach that point with your website where you're like, put it up and we're done with it for now. This is supposed to be a tool for you. And if it just turns into a time suck and a depressor, that will never be a beneficial tool for you. It's okay to take a break. Finally, if you're one of those people who has no website yet, and everybody on the screen right now is making a face because at some point or another, every one of these women has made fun of me because I do not have a website. Yes, I work on websites for a living. No, I do not have one. I am aware of the irony and the hypocrisy. Please and thank you. So if you are one of those people who has no website, that's okay. It really is. You will not have that tool in your arsenal. But as far as building your author platform, which is the whole point of this discussion, you can So not just survive, but thrive without a website. You can still coordinate all your platforms very well. And it's especially important to coordinate them without having that central location home base that the tool that is a website provides for you. For you people, I say Linktree is extremely useful, and even more without a website. Linktree is your friend. It has free options. It has really cool paid options. If you do not have a website, you need a Linktree or some equivalent thereof. There are other tools that offer the same service. You need that one link that gives everybody all the relevant links just by clicking. You need that one little piece. And if you have it, by all means, make sure that it's featured somewhere up towards the top in the importance of your media kit as well. If you do have a Linktree, I've seen lots of people who have their resumes, and underneath their name on the tops of their resumes, instead of putting like their email address, they put their Linktree, believe it or not. It's a thing. Surprised me. And here's another thing too. Dana made it a point to talk about how the names are going to rank. You know, if you pick a name that is common, there's going to be all these people who rank above you. And that is very true. Like, all search engines rely on authority, is what they call it now, which is basically people and traffic giving search engines indicators that you're legit and you're not spam. So you're going to have to compete in the beginning, and especially compete if you have a common name. If you have a non-common name, for example, Dulcie Silruno, she's a friend of the community. If you search Dulcie Silruno, her platforms come up first everywhere because that name is nowhere else. It's very unique. So that is one of the main keys about choosing a pen name, even if it's just a slightly altered spelling of a common name, something that's very unique and specific. You don't have to compete for those things. So especially if you use that approach, your social platforms will rank for your author name. You know, even if you have like a medium amount of uniqueness and there are other people, your social platforms will still come up even if you don't have a website. And that did not used to be the case, but it is now. Now, for several authors that I've worked on in the past, when you search them, their Instagram and their Facebook and their Goodreads profiles come up way before their website. Sometimes their website isn't even page 2 or 3, but their social medias, top 10. That's because search engines are now valuing social media platforms as like legit search results. That's a whole SEO thing. But it is something that you can count on even if you don't have a website. It's not going to detract from anything else. Now, there's always the option of free websites, which if you've heard me talk about free websites in the past, I have been a little bit discouraging because my job is to turn your website into an advertisement tool. And that is not going to be very easy to do, if doable at all, if you have a free website. Free websites are great for a personal experience or an opinion blog, or if you are new and a little bit scattered, or you only have a handful of things and you're just really looking to create that home base for an entity, they're not something to be discredited just because in my line of work, they're not as useful as a paid website. You can move a database from a free one to a paid one. It's a huge pain in the butt. If anybody's had to transfer a database, I do not like doing it. I'm not a fan. So if you don't think you need a website just yet, maybe wait. That's why I never went for a free website, even though, you know, just being in the community that I'm in, having a website representation would have been beneficial. I know as an SEO, I'm like, I'm not there yet. So if you feel like a website isn't something that you need right now, and so you don't want to put expenses on it, if you don't feel that you need it enough to pay for it, you might not need it enough to set it up. But like I said, if you need a home base, a free website is absolutely viable. That it's not failing to do that for you in any way. It's just, as marketing, I lean towards the other way. And one final note, that if you are at that stage, you don't know if you need a website, you're not there yet, don't have the budget, you can buy just a domain name. So even if you're not ready to set up a site, you can lock down your author name. And a lot of people, like Lisa Daly is another friend of the writing community you may have come across. She had the issue that her original lisadaily.com website URL was stolen from her. And so now she owns all the alternatives, lisadaily.tv, .net, .com, .org, whatever. And another SEO tip, there's not actually any difference between all of those things. A URL could be a line of gibberish, and as long as it's in the right databases at the right time, it's all good. So you'll see some people who have like, you know, penname.author or so-and-so.books. It does not make a difference that it's not .com. So that might be a creative flair thing that you choose to do when you go to buy your domain. Totally an option to give something really unique, but it is questionable. Spammers use that tactic a lot. So it's something that might be cool and cute, but you're going to have to go out of your way to make sure you tell the public, you know, hey, I'm legit, even though it says .books, not .com. Don't be spooked. So yes, if you're one of those people. All right. So I've ran my mouth, talked about all of this stuff. Here's the highlights of my presentation. If you guys take a screenshot or save, there will be a copy of this presentation available after we assemble it. And so this is going to be the most valuable piece of my presentation for you so far. So highlights, your content, all kinds of content, everything, even transcripts from YouTube videos are viable content that can be represented on your website. Just be sure that even in your blogs and like captions of pictures, you reference the other content. And by that, I mean, if you do make a blog post that is a transcript of your YouTube video, you need to have a link to the YouTube video, obvious, but I gotta say it. And you also need to find other opportunities to link to other things on your website that are relevant. Like if you have a blog post that's even vaguely relevant to it, you're going to want to make sure that you take the opportunity to link to the blog post as well. Internal links is what they call them. You'll see my third point is there. Internal links are great, super useful for making sure that people stay on your site, reduces your bounce rate. And I'll get back to external links. Think of your content connections on your website like a web, where everything reaches out and touches something else. You want each blog post, each page to link out and touch something. If you have content and nothing touches it, they call that an orphan page. That's frowned upon because it's very easy to set that up for spam and direct, you know, oh, the URL is legit. Yeah, spam page. So orphan content, frowned upon. And I'm giving you all of these tips and all this sort of stuff because if you do these things now, when you're way more popular, you don't have to come back and redo this work. So if you're wondering why I'm going into detail about step back and evaluate your goal and trajectory, this stops you from ever having to redo this work. So thumbs up, it helps in the long run. External links goes back to building the branding on your website. Believe it or not, external links, especially in blog posts, are a good thing. And by that, I mean links to something else. Back in the day, people used to say, if you're writing about word count, don't link to another blog about word count. You want yours to rank. Total crap, not legit anymore. Back in the day, yes. Now, bad advice. So links to other things that are relevant, even just other authors in your genre, especially if you're just talking about experience or talking about genre as a discussion, links to other authors, your competition essentially, still have the benefit of making you look like a more legitimate resource. And so you're less likely to be discredited in searches. Your name, something I mentioned. Aim for the same name everywhere. Try really hard for that unique pen name that nobody else has and there's no search results for it and all that stuff. If you can't, just make sure that every alternative name is clearly stated on the website. And by clearly stated, I mean like the word my Twitter handle is with the Twitter handle needs to be on there. You need the name and the platform in a heading. And at the very least in a paragraph, I always recommend a heading. It helps you to break up your sections on your site pages too. Social media, and this is something that was kind of hinted at, and I know there's several other videos by Tamara and other people in the community who make a point of discussing this, that social media is not a more the better situation. It's not, oh, hey, I have better social media because I have one of everything. That's ultimately kind of self-defeating because you spread yourself so thin and it's so hard to maintain all of that stuff. it wears you down instead of just focusing on the ones that actually stimulate you as part of actually creating content. This is a which ones are best for me scenario. And in doing that, you're going to want to make sure that, you know, your most relevant ones, but even your not so relevant ones that you're thinking about phasing out, until you actually close the accounts, make sure they are represented on the website. And home base, your website is essentially a home base, whether it's the advertisement or the central hub idea. Think of it as your home base. It needs to meet your current needs, no matter how small. Yes, in the beginning, your current need is just, I need to talk to people. I need to get myself out there and make connections. It's okay that that's all your website really does, is brag about the opportunities to make connections, because you don't have writing craft advice or particularly books to put up there yet. That's okay, because your content will grow as you do. So it's okay to have what you have now, and then make your plan when you are ready to incorporate something new before you add it to the website. And I make sure to say before, because I'm trying to set you up to add this stuff to the website and then not have to come back and update it constantly. If you already have your keyword, your name, and your little 2, 3, maybe 4 sentence blurb that goes along with whatever this feature is that you're putting on the website, you can set it and forget it. Especially if it's something general, like a weekly appointment or a weekly stream on YouTube. But even though I'm saying that as a professional. When you're still in your networking and learning phases, don't be afraid to change things up on your site to match what's new with you. It's okay to update and alter and come back. Just make sure that when you make those changes, you do it with intent, that you don't just slap up something, that there's actually an expression of value associated with it. That's your opportunity, your 1 or 2 sentences to say, what's the value of this thing? Why am I even bothering to mention it? Images, titles and alt text for the 5th or 6th time. And remember, this is a big thing that I've had to tell a lot of people. Search engines cannot read text inside of an image. I don't care how pretty your book promo is. The only thing that search engines are going to see when they see that picture is your title and your alt text. And they cannot read it. So if it's anything important, if it has release dates, if it has, you know, social networking opportunities, especially in real life opportunities like dates and times, that needs to be typed out on the site. If it's just in the image, the best you'll be able to do is to put that information in the alt text, and then whatever you can in the title. And that works. It's better than nothing. But if it's really important, especially for a marketing tactic, it needs to be in the text on the pages. Your outside links are your external links. They're very, very valuable to media kits, as Skye mentioned. And if you don't have any links, that's okay. If this website is starting out for you as just your central hub personal thing, and the best that you have to put in your media kit is your author bio, that's okay. You don't have to go out and make up or fake anything to make it look like you're out there more than you are for your website. If you're actually doing that for your media kit, that's how Tamara mentioned finding opportunities to go involve yourself in stuff to add to this. When you do that for your own growth, for your resume, for your media kit, then you can incorporate it on the website. The newsletter, the big issue that comes up with newsletters is to post or not to post it on your website as a blog post. And this depends entirely on the content in the newsletter. Professionally speaking, you're asking yourself, is it actually relevant to everything else on the website? If 3/4 of the rest of your content on your website is about writing craft and promoting your published works, and maybe 1/4 of it is more about personal experience, well, you'll reference things like family interruptions, or, you know, you'll have a caption in some things like, oh, total side note, try this recipe. It's fantastic. That sort of thing. If your newsletter is more of a check-in, talking about yourself and your experience, unless that is the focus of your website, it doesn't have that much value. So it may not be worth your time to put in the time and effort to copy and paste and make sure that everything lines up neatly and looks good on mobile browsers and all those sorts of things is it worth your time to put it on the website? Now, if you're someone who discusses, hey, I watched this writing craft video because this was a problem that I had, and I felt this way about it, or I felt that way about it. That's information is very useful also in social media posts, but that does count as relevancy and informativeness that would make it worth actually creating blog posts for your newsletters. And now, if you're one of those people who you use there's lots of different names for it. I call them splash pages, where it's basically like, hey, you signed up for us and you used this service, so we have a page just for you to decorate for your newsletter sign up. I call those splash pages most of the time. If you use that and you want to continue to use that because turned out it was a huge pain in the butt to incorporate your newsletter with your actual website, that's okay. Still good. No actual problems there, as long as the content around the link that you're going to direct people to that splash page matches the content on the splash page. As long as search engines can look and say, oh, we identified these 3 keywords around this link. Oh, here's these 3 keywords on the other end of the link. They'll be much less likely to question it. And in the beginning, trying to beat out your competition may or may not actually be a part of your goal. That's how I put food on my table. So that's always my goal by doing SEO. Now, I've said this before, SEO, very, very intimidating, especially when you get into the really complex marketing part of it. Basically, SEO is picking your top keywords and your other ones for your relevant project and applying them to your content. They need to actually be represented in important areas, i.e. the opportunities such as headings, image titles, page and post metadata. That's the essence of SEO. You've got your important keywords and you find important places on your website to put them. That is how spammers can make dog collars rank for rom-com bookstagrammers. Yeah, it's a trick. It's a spam, but it's legit because it really is that simple. And so one other SEO tip, because I know a lot of people just don't know this, and I keep saying it because I'm like, hey, this is totally random, but it makes a big difference. Do not use click here when you put in your hyperlinks. I know it's much easier, but put in the effort to create a valid sentence which uses the link's title in it. If it links to a blog post, you need to put the blog post in there. If it links to a person, it needs to have that person's name. It's just better practice in the long term. It helps eliminate any of these spammy things. And eliminating spam from the very beginning is also important because you never know when you're going to be targeted by spammers and hijacked. So these kinds of good habits from the beginning will just make it harder when the time comes, if you're ever in that situation and people are like, oh, is this the spammy one? Is this a legit one? If search engines ever have to make that decision, well, look at all these legit tactics here that connect with all these social networks, all that kind of stuff. So it's just one of those little tips people don't even realize actually is an issue, but it is. And everybody's been in the situation where you clicked something and you expected to go see a writing craft about word count and you found yourself on dog collars. It happens. You eliminate the questionableness from search engines, i.e. long-term, you're going to want to rank for your name by just putting in the effort to make a valid sentence. It goes a long, long way. And it's probably, besides the image titles not being named, the most pervasive SEO thing that actually happens, because things like putting your name in the headings is obvious. But besides image titles, this is the one where I'm like, I have to go through the website and clean up 28 links that say click here. I'm not complaining because I get paid to do it. But you save yourself time and money when you don't do it yourself. And finally, my last highlight is no website, not a problem. Linktree is your friend. Linktree will compensate for that lack of a central home base. And this is not a deal breaker. I've, thrown marketing tips at you, a lot of technical information that, as far as building your author platform, this is more about the little bits of how you implement it. But if you are one of those people and website is not your jam, you are not here for the website today, this is not a deal breaker. Would you focus on all these other things that these other ladies have talked about, your networking, presenting yourself with your visuals and your pen name, having your media kit where you're just aware of your activity, assembled, all of those things will take you just as far, if not farther, than a website ever will. Those things are ultimately more important. The exception that I have to that, I mentioned it on an earlier slide, is if you offer, and again, I'm about to get some side eye from all the ladies on the screen right now. If you offer services, i.e., I do SEO and website construction, for other people, you need a website. I jokingly laugh that my business model still remains mostly about references. I'm happy with that. But if you're someone who actually wants to provide a service to other people in this industry because you have a lot of experience in this and you feel like you could be having this as a side gig, there is no substitute for having a website for that, because it adds that angle of legitimacy. It allows you to rank for things. And believe it or not, it actually helps you to rank in like suggested too. Like depending on what website you're on, you know, whenever you're looking at a blog post and then there's all of those like semi-related but from other websites things down at the bottom, sometimes those things are not actually entered by the company that's running the website. That's just a big ass advertisement from Google or something like that. So these are the types of things that if they happen to be on a blog, search engines can make the connection and say, oh, okay, well, you're looking at editing services over here from this person, and look at all this overlapping information they have with this person who does formatting. So they'll go ahead and link it and present it there. And those are the types of things that if you go through and do the things that I've mentioned, you set yourself up for when those opportunities come along. You don't have to scramble and go, is everything in line? These things will be set up in a nice, cohesive way, whether it's the advertisement or whether it's the personal hub. So yeah, that's my author branded website highlights. This is my spiel. Thank you for listening to me ramble for the last 20, 30 minutes. So I hope that I brought value to this. And yeah, have a good day and all that good stuff.
All right. Does anyone have any questions?
And don't forget, if you have any like technical questions, you can hit me up on Twitter. Talk about it there if you have anything that you're looking for like a specific answer.
So I had a question when you were talking about the headings and how there's only one H1 heading. Can you, so what you were saying is that you can change those headings. It doesn't have to stay the same heading. Like if I publish a new book and I wanted to change that H1 heading to the title of my new book, I can do that at any given moment, right?
Yep. The H1 heading is your most important piece of information. Today it's your name, tomorrow it's your book.
Awesome.
Has anything popped up on the YouTubes?
I haven't seen any questions.
Okay. This has been a lot of fun. And I want to thank you ladies for being here with us, and everyone who's watching this right now or you're watching this later. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Down in the description, there is down in the description, there is an exit interview that you can, of course, fill out and let us know how this worked for you, your thoughts, what you liked, what you disliked, what you wish that we would have talked about a bit more or a bit less. Again, there's going to be a website video later this week. This will be the video where Amy and I are going about creating Bliss Winter's website. And it's, I think it's going to be very informative. And if you have a lot of website questions left over, or you just want to see what the process looks like, this will be very helpful for you. And the technical difficulty that we were having earlier was adding that presentation to the description. There was an issue there. So it will be added. It'll be in that description before Monday. So come back, and if you were wanting to get the slideshow presentation, say that 3 times fast, it'll be down there waiting just for you. So again, thank you so much for being here. You guys are amazing. These ladies, their links are down in the description. So please link up with them if you haven't already. and we'll see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.